Chapter 336. What's more, you guys are so strong, and those demons are so weak. Can one attack? Charge with me, follow me to battle. Maybe this is the first time I'm defending my country, but as the Crown Prince, I swear that I will never willingly watch my people be trampled by demons. I will be with you, believe me. Qiao Zhao's words were very infectious, making these righteous soldiers of the Devil Realm feel boundless courage surging in their chests for the sake of their families, for the sake of the peace and prosperity of the Devil Realm. They wanted to catch all the people who destroyed their homes in one fell swoop. All the soldiers at the scene were filled with heroic spirit, and their voices were deafening. Qiao Zhao waved his hand, and rode his magical beast in front to clear the path, whizzing towards the demon palace. What's going on? Why can't the arrows shoot in? The royal uncle and the state advisor had brought thousands of soldiers to surround the flower-shaped palace. The royal uncle's face was gloomy, like the dark clouds in the sky before a storm, and the air pressure around him was extremely low. The state advisor looked at the palace door that had not been attacked for a long time, and the fire in his heart burned fiercely. Everything was going smoothly, but he did not expect to be stuck here. The soldiers at the front could not shoot their arrows in, and they could not attack either. The soldiers who had rushed in earlier struggled to break free from inside, and hurriedly reported, "All the arrows we shot out automatically changed directions in the air, and hit our own people. We suffered heavy losses." The state advisor kicked him over, "A bunch of useless things. Stop shooting arrows, transform into your original forms, and charge in." The moment the order was given, the earth shook and the mountains shook. Deafening roars of beasts were released from the mouths of the soldiers. Many of the soldiers of the demon realm were transformed from demonic beasts. They gradually turned into human form, and at this moment, they unleashed their true nature. The demonic beast soldiers of all shapes and sizes began to run towards the flower-shaped palace. They roared and trembled. The entire demon palace shook. The array that Yen Ran had set up could clearly feel a huge shockwave coming towards her. Her arm that was absorbing the poison trembled slightly, and she stopped, turning her body to the outside of the palace. Yen Ran silently chanted in her heart, and saw the light of the totem was as dazzling as the sun, directly shooting towards the array outside the palace. The originally ordinary array was superimposed with a layer of heaven-defying circulation array, which was a kind of array that the Eastern aristocratic families were proud of. Anyone who fell into it, if there was no way to break it, it would inevitably be endless, and they would never be able to survive. After the soldiers who had transformed into magical beasts rushed into the array, they disappeared. The state advisor and the royal uncle were shocked to see their soldiers constantly rushing in, like moths to a flame, and they could no longer be seen. What's going on? Where are they? Just now, no matter what, there were still people who could come back, but why can't we see them coming out? Later on, no matter what appearance the other soldiers had transformed into, they did not dare to rashly advance. Several zhang away from the palace gate, they stopped. The state advisor fiercely cut off his white hair. "I don't believe in the supernatural." He drew a cross on his palm and dyed his white hair with his blood. He fiercely swung it forward, and the white hair transformed into sharp swords that shot towards the palace gate. Yenron's eyes widened. This strength was enough to replace an army of thousands. She had previously taken the poison for the princess consort, and now she was taking the poison for the demon lord. She also had to divide her spiritual energy to control the array. She had already persisted for some time, and it was clear that her strength was somewhat lacking. And now, the sudden pressure of Mount Tai forced her to temporarily stop taking the poison for the demon lord and use all her strength to resist the sudden increase in pressure. But at this critical moment, on the battlefield, what could she do without a commander? Taking the poison for the demon lord was imperative, and maintaining the array was even more crucial. For the first time, Yen Ran felt that her strength was too weak. If only she could have 3 heads and 6 arms. On the other side of the bed, there was still a princess consort waiting for her. Wen Wan saw her difficulties, but he was just a doctor. How could he help in a war? He could only say to Yen Ran, "First, find a way to stabilize the array. Take the poison for a while, otherwise we can't continue." Yenran had no choice but to wholeheartedly resist the army outside. The battle was in a stalemate, and Yenran could no longer free her hands to save people. Reporting to the state advisor, we found this in the garden. A soldier took out an exquisite coat and handed it to the state advisor. The state advisor was busy resisting, so he only glanced at it and didn't care at all. But the imperial uncle, who was standing at the side, saw that it was only a well-made outer robe. He weighed it in his hand and found that it was not light. With the help of the moonlight and the torch, his heart moved. He ordered a soldier next to him, "Put it on and let me see." He saw that the soldier was neither fish nor fowl after putting it on. Not only was the size inappropriate, but the temperament was also not compatible with the clothes. Royal uncle shouted, "Bring up all the hostages you've captured." A row of captives was brought up. Most of them were servants of the demon lord and the crown prince. Everyone was in a terrible state. At first glance, they were all covered in blood, and some of the maids' clothes were disheveled. "Does anyone know whose clothes this is?" the imperial uncle asked loudly. Everyone was silent. Most people didn't know, but those who knew could tell at a glance that this was the Crown Prince Chao Yun's clothes. But the Crown Prince's servants lowered their heads and refused to speak. They would not betray their young master even if they were beaten to death. "No one said anything, right? If you say it, you will be spared from many crimes. In the future, you will have the opportunity to serve me." After a while, a trembling voice finally said, "I know. Can I be spared from my crimes?" The imperial uncle had someone bring the woman in front of him. His eyes lit up when he saw her. She was as delicate as a crescent moon, making people want to ravage her. He pulled her to his chest and raised her chin to look at her carefully. "So it is the Crown Prince's head maid, monsieur. You really are the Crown Prince's #1 beauty. But it is a pity that after serving the Crown Prince for so long, you are already a flower of yesterday." Unexpectedly, Yue hurriedly denied, "Imperial uncle, I have never served the Crown Prince before. I am still pure, so I can still serve you." Her voice became softer and softer, until finally, she stopped speaking. The other people in the Crown Prince's palace raised their eyes in shock and glared at Yue. One of them directly cursed, "Traitor of the Crown Prince." Unexpectedly, Yue directly replied, "I am not as noble as you. I want to protect my own life. Am I wrong?" The imperial uncle smiled and pinched her face. "A wise man knows the truth. Tell me, whose clothes are these?" "Imperial uncle, these clothes are the Crown Prince's." The imperial uncle originally had a guess in his heart, but when he heard Yu's words, "Tell me the details." Tonight, the Crown Prince and the Crown Princess suddenly brought the Crown Prince back to the demon realm. When they heard that the princess was sick, they immediately rushed over and left the Crown Prince in the Crown Prince's palace. When I rushed back, I was punished by the Crown Prince to kneel. And then the Crown Prince went to the main hall, saying that he was going to attend the wedding. It seems that the Crown Prince is not in the princess's palace. He must still be in the garden. The imperial uncle smiled viciously. "It seems that the heavens are helping us. Pass down the order to search the entire palace for the Crown Prince. Those who catch him will be heavily rewarded." The Crown Prince, Chao Yun, was currently doing his best to set up the tunnel he had designed. He used the ministers who knew how to dig tunnels to dig through the entire bottom of the lake. He had designed a huge maze, and even the ministers who were digging the tunnel were confused by him. "Didn't we just dig here? Do we have to dig again? Listen to me, we will know once we dig through." The entire tunnel map was in Chao Yun's mind. In the end, the ministers no longer judged whether Chao Yun was right or not. They only knew to listen to Chao Yun. When they were digging the tunnel, the Crown Prince's clothes that Chao Yun had thrown at the bottom of the lake were thrown out along with the soil. They did not expect Chao Yun's identity to be exposed like this. However, Chao Yun did not know any of this. Now that the tunnel at the bottom of the lake had been dug out, Chao Yun began to command them to dig in the direction of the flower-shaped palace. Although these old ministers were not young, they were like this in the demon realm. They had a very long lifespan. Although they looked old, they were still in the prime of their lives. They worked very quickly. The bottom of the lake was very big. Under Chow Yun's command, the soil that was dug out was turned into another kind of mechanism and placed in key places. The progress was getting faster and faster. After digging for a long time, when they listened to Chow Yun's command, the last piece of soil was pushed out, and the light directly shone in. The old minister who was digging was so scared that he staggered and almost fell. Chow Yun pulled him away and stretched his head out to take a look. He just happened to see a pair of cold eyes looking at him. He called out happily, "Mother!" Yenran was taken aback when she saw her son suddenly climbing up from the ground. However, she immediately understood what was going on. Her son was smart. He probably saw that there was a war outside and thought of a way to find her. However, when Wenwan saw that there were more people climbing up from the ground behind him, her eyes almost popped out of their sockets. When these old ministers saw that they had really obtained the princess's palace and saw the Devil King lying on the bed, they all cried. Yenran asked everyone to wait in another room. She took the totems from her son and combined the male and female totems. The power increased greatly. The battle outside was still in a stalemate, but under Yenran's pressure, it immediately became one-sided. Yenran finally breathed a sigh of relief. She touched her son's head and gave him a thumbs up. At this time, Chow Yun breathed a sigh of relief. He turned his head to look at the other patient in the room. It was a man who came to report under his command. When he saw a man in a sorry state covered in wounds, he shook his head and commented in his heart, "Silly girl, persistent enough, but a little stupid." Chapter 337. Chow Yun helped a man tuck in the blanket, cleaned the dust off her face, and checked her injuries. The blood on her palm had already congealed, and there were only a few stones left. Her ankle was swollen like a steamed bun, and there were abrasions on her elbows and calves. Chow Yun guessed that there were more on her body, but it was not suitable for him to check. He took a wet towel and carefully wiped a man's exposed wounds, and used a small needle to pick out the stones embedded in her palm. He found some disinfectant from Wen Wan's medicine box, and under the instructions of Kong Ming and Kong Xiaoming, he disinfected all the wounds and applied medicine. He then picked up a man's swollen ankle and gently turned it. A man immediately groaned in pain. Chow Yun stopped and looked at Yenran with big expectant eyes. "Mama, when can you treat a man?" "Mama is not free right now. I have to treat your grandfather and grandmother. A man has more external injuries, but they are not serious. You can wait for a while." Yenran glanced at Chow Yun. This little guy usually looked cold, but she did not expect him to care so much about this little girl. Chow Yun had no choice but to think about how to treat a man himself. He learned from his mother and channeled his spiritual energy into his palm, slowly circulating it around a man's ankle. However, he was still young, and his spiritual energy was not enough. After a while, he found that shoes and socks were very inconvenient, so he removed them from a man's ankle. However, after removing them, he found that they were even more inconvenient. The small, round, and smooth silver white irritated his eyes, and his gaze wavered for a moment. He then calmly put her socks back on and continued to use his spiritual energy to cover her ankle. At this time, the temperature of the ankle that he was covering with his hands gradually rose. He did not know whether it was his spiritual energy or his heart that was rippling, but when his palms became hotter and hotter, he gave up and threw a towel into boiling water. After wringing it dry, he directly applied the hot towel to her ankle. Yenran was finally free. The power of the two totems was enough for her to resist external attacks. She and Wen Wan could finally continue to treat the Devil King. The royal uncle and the imperial preceptor originally felt that the array outside the Flower Heart Palace had the possibility of being broken, but for some reason, the pressure suddenly increased. After a large number of soldiers came in, they could not come out, and the imperial preceptor's power was limited. Continuously using his own magic to resist the totem made him exhausted. Just as he was about to stop and rest, suddenly someone came to report. "Imperial uncle, imperial preceptor, things are not good. An entire army has come from outside the palace and is trying to break through the palace gate. Their fighting strength is very strong." We can't resist them anymore. We need to send people to help. The two of them were shocked. Where did these people come from? The leader seems to be His Highness the Crown Prince. The state preceptor and the imperial uncle looked at each other. They originally thought that this flower-shaped palace would be enough to take down, but they didn't expect that there would be more problems. When did the Crown Prince go out? He even mobilized the army? Listen to my orders. Half of you will stay here and surround the Crown Prince. Don't attack for now. The other half will follow me to fight the Crown Prince. The imperial uncle stayed here while the state preceptor led a group of people to welcome Xiao Zhao's attack. At this time, Xiao Zhao was riding on a magical beast, majestically rushing towards the palace gate. When his thousands of soldiers and horses arrived, they realized that there were countless traps and people at the palace gate, waiting for them to attack. Xiao Zhao sneered. A mere palace gate can stop me? He chanted the flying flame meteor incantation in his heart. Xiao Zhao brought out the aura he had when he was breaking through the formation. Countless meteors fell from the sky, scaring the soldiers who were originally guarding the palace gate. They covered their heads and retreated one after another. Xiao Zhao directly flew up, but he immediately returned after taking a look. Inside the palace gate, there were 3 layers of soldiers inside and outside, like ants. He originally wanted to directly open the palace gate, but now it seemed that it would be more difficult. Moreover, the material used to attack the gate was extremely special. At that time, in order to maintain the safety of the demon palace, ordinary weapons could not blast it at all. Xiao Zhao sighed inwardly. If he had known, he would have brought a few rocket launchers. At this time, his aunt was already facing the attack of all the soldiers. The most ancient and primitive war unfolded in front of Xiao Zhao. It was a complete human wave tactic. The roars of beasts came from the mouths of every soldier. The nature of the people of the demon realm was greatly stimulated at this time. The warlike factor in their bodies rushed out. Every soldier's eyes revealed a bloodthirsty light. What they wanted was blood, limbs, and heads. Many people even transformed into their beast forms. Even his aunt grew 2 horns on her head. Like a beautiful cheetah, she rushed toward the palace gate. Xiao Zhao was infected by this atmosphere, and the warlike factor in his body soared rapidly. His 2 arms had already become incomparably thick. He did not know if his body had also changed, but at this moment, he only wanted to continue killing and destroying. His 2 iron fists suddenly became thicker and longer like gibbons. He was the first to bear the brunt. His 2 iron fists directly rushed towards the palace gate. With a loud bang, the palace gate was directly punched inwards. When the other soldiers saw this, they widened their eyes in admiration as they looked at their crown prince. Then, the soldiers attacking outside the palace gate collectively shouted, "Your Highness is mighty." Xiao Zhao's blood boiled when he heard this. He unleashed all the demonic energy in his body and smashed his 2 iron fists at the palace gate like a mountain. Bang! 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 If someone were to look at the palace gate at this moment, they would know that the soldiers inside had all retreated in shock, leaving room for the entire palace gate to vibrate. Xiao Zhao rapidly smashed his fists dozens of times. With a cracking sound, he actually smashed 2 big holes in the palace gate. With the cheers of the soldiers outside the palace gate, countless iron pillars slammed towards the palace gate. The 2 huge holes in the palace gate could no longer hold on. It rapidly retreated like a collapsing flood. The 2 huge palace gates collapsed with a loud bang. The soldiers who had retreated some distance behind the palace gate were so frightened that they quickly fled. However, the palace gate was too tall. Some people were still crushed under it. When the attacking soldiers saw that they had won the first battle, they cheered and surged into the palace gate like a tide. Xiao Zhao retracted his iron fists and rode on his magical beast. Looking at the soldiers who were charging forward like him, the blood in his body boiled. A burst of demonic energy descended from the sky like flying sand and stones, sweeping towards the group of fleeing soldiers inside the palace gate. Xiao Zhao suddenly had a feeling that he was about to transform. His body became thicker and his muscles surged outwards. His clothes were already tight on his body, as if they were about to burst. Furthermore, something seemed to be about to emerge from the top of his head. This force surged in his chest and he was about to lose control of himself. The sound of his clothes tearing sounded in his ears. He picked up a large saber from the side and jumped up from the magical beast. In just one jump, he jumped up to the city gate tower. Then, he realized that the soldiers beside him seemed to have suddenly become short, and he had become a giant twice the size of an ordinary person. Oh no, his pants were about to burst. At this moment, he realized that his aunt was the same as him. She had become much bigger than usual. At this moment, he realized why his aunt was dressed so lightly. At this moment, there was no need to worry about her clothes bursting. The thin layer of gauze had become the most convenient outer garment. "Aunt, I've become bigger. What should I do?" Chow Chow asked anxiously. "You're still very handsome. Just cover the important parts. Don't worry about it. No one will recognize you on the battlefield." After saying that, she jumped down first. Chow Chow looked at the entire battlefield. Only his aunt's slender legs were particularly eye-catching. The gauze could not cover anything at all. He could recognize who she was at a glance. But at this moment, Chow Chow did not have time to worry about anything. He wrapped his clothes around his waist and returned to his original appearance in the yin-yang formation. He picked up his saber and immediately jumped down. Only after entering did he realize how cruel the war was. He was surrounded by thousands of people, and he could never kill them all. All of his skills seemed to be useless here. He was back in the ancient battlefield, where he had no cultivation and no end to the slaughter. The most important thing was that he could not distinguish between his own people and the enemy. Every person from the devil world was in a killing frenzy. Originally, their soldiers were all wearing standard uniforms. But at this moment, after being beastified, it was impossible to tell them apart. They only knew how to constantly dodge the people attacking them. What AF *King scam? Chow Chow realized that he could only recognize himself and his aunt on the battlefield because he was taller than everyone else. He saw that this was not a solution at all. He had to find a way to capture the commander. In the midst of the chaos, he bypassed the crowd and flew into the depths of the palace. The imperial preceptor led a group of people and rushed to the palace gate. But halfway there, he was shocked by the battle ahead. He caught a fleeing soldier and found out that the palace gate had been breached. Both sides were fighting in a chaotic battle. His Highness the Crown Prince descended from the sky like a god of war. He practiced with his bare hands and broke the palace gate with his strength alone. The imperial preceptor looked at the soldier who seemed to be scared out of his wits and slapped him. "Military orders must be obeyed. This is how you fight a war. Kill all deserters." All of the fleeing soldiers had no choice but to turn back and continue fighting. Gradually, they could not distinguish between friend and foe. They only knew how to wave the sabers in their hands non-stop. The imperial preceptor's eyes flashed. Looking at the chaotic situation, he simply went to the hall where the old officials were locked up. "Chai Jin, take all the old officials out. It's time to use them. Take them all to the tower over there." After Chai Jin obeyed, he immediately ordered a group of people to pull up all the officials in the hall. "Seal their mouths. Don't make a sound." Then, a group of soldiers pressed these people in official uniforms and staggered to the other side of the wall. Chapter 338. While Chow Chow was searching everywhere, he suddenly heard the imperial tutor's voice from the top of a tower. It was transmitted to every corner of the palace using magic. "Your Highness, order your men to attack immediately. Otherwise, these old officials won't be able to see the sun tomorrow." Chow Zhao's heart tightened when he heard this. He quickly went to the bottom of the tower and saw a group of people wearing official robes lined up on the tower. Everyone was struggling with all their might, but it was obvious that they were tied up tightly and had something stuffed in their mouths. Chow Chow was furious when he saw this. "Chow Ji, how dare you? Even if you want to rebel, after you kill all the officials, who will assist you? Your Highness, you are too naive. You treat these officials like treasures, but we don't care. It's easy to get officials. I can just appoint a few new officials. But if you want to save their lives, quickly give the order and have all your men surrender." Qiao Zhao's eyes turned cold. He immediately rose from the ground and flew up. With a burst of magic power, his arm immediately grew. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of the imperial tutor. However, the state preceptor was not afraid. He directly ordered the minister closest to him to retreat down the city gate tower. Qiao Xiao had to turn around and pull back his fist. He turned around and grabbed the official who fell down the tower. The official's hands and feet were flying in the air. He wanted to control his body, but it was all wishful thinking. His head was facing down. At the last moment, he looked at the crown prince with a desperate gaze. He reached out his hand, wanting to grab the last straw. But because Qiao Xiao had turned around at the last moment, his speed was delayed, and the minister fell a little faster than him. When his hand touched the minister's clothes, he fell to the ground, and his skull was smashed to pieces. Qiao Xiao quickly landed on the ground. He turned the official's body over with trembling hands. His eyes flashed with the teachings of every official since he was young. Some were strict, some were helpless, and they were always angered by him. But no matter what, these people were once his teachers. The death of any one of them would make his heart ache. He was afraid that he would see a familiar face. Every wrinkle was a result of his past efforts. But when Qiao Xiao saw their faces, he was stunned for a few seconds. He looked at the city wall with a strange expression. Then, he left the corpse and flew up to the city wall again. He hovered in the air and carefully observed the faces of the old officials on the city wall. "Ha ha ha ha, Qiao Ji, are you too bold or too muddle-headed? You don't even know who the minister is. Do you think I'm a fool to let your soldiers wear the minister's clothes?" When the state preceptor heard this, he immediately turned around and walked to the front of these dusty officials. At this moment, he realized that these official robes were crooked on their bodies and their official hats were basically stuck in half of their faces. Most importantly, their mouths were stuffed with towels and their bodies were tied up with ropes. Their faces were not the faces of the officials at all. Qiao Ji was so angry that his whole body trembled. He asked sternly, "Chai Jin, what's going on? You didn't even know that the person I told you to watch had been swapped. Hurry up and search for them. They can't have gone far." Chai Jin was also confused by the sudden situation in front of him. He had guarded the entire hall to the point that even a fly couldn't fly out. How could it be directly taken out and their people were trapped inside? "Qiao Ji, what else do you rely on now? Come and die." Qiao Xiao directly flew up to the city wall tower. The flying fire meteors were like a rain of stones from the sky, accurately hitting the state preceptor's surroundings. The state preceptor immediately summoned his magical beast. It was a giant wolf with 3 eyes. His body suddenly became bigger. Riding on the giant wolf, he directly attacked Qiao Xiao. The two of them directly fought in the air. Sand and stones flew and the wind howled. The entire night sky seemed to be covered by the fight between the two of them. Even the stars hid behind the black clouds for fear of being caught in the crossfire. At this time, Qiao Xiao discovered that the state preceptor was really powerful. With the help of a magical beast, he was very flexible in the air. Qiao Xiao had the advantage in the seal formed by the guards, but his devil chi made him unable to hold on for long in the air. His own magical beast mount had been summoned back by his aunt to join the battle. At this time, it was somewhat flustered by the state preceptor's attack. The 3-eyed giant wolf looked at Qiao Xiao and revealed a gap. He opened his big mouth and a few sharp fangs fiercely bit at Qiao Xiao. And the 2 front claws had already revealed a sharp blade, emitting a bleak white light in the night sky. At this time, he raised his claws high and pounced at Qiao Xiao with his fangs. The state preceptor's weapon was similar to a spear. At this time, he threw it from his hand and controlled the right half of Qiao Xiao's body. Qiao Xiao fiercely twisted his body in the air and flipped back. The giant wolf's fangs bit the edge of the seal formed by the guards. With a cracking sound, one of the fangs broke. Qiao Xiao took this opportunity to flip to the ground. Just when he was about to fight to the death with Qiao Ji again, he saw Qiao Ji directly commanded his giant wolf to fly away. If you have the guts, don't run. If you have the ability, then fight 300 rounds. See if I don't break all your fangs. Qiao Ji completely ignored Qiao Zhao's curses behind him and disappeared into the night sky in a blink of an eye. After landing on the ground, Qiao Xiao could no longer stay idle. Countless soldiers surrounded him again. It was really F***ed up. Qiao Xiao could only use his remaining strength in this endless war of attrition. Qiao Ji was not afraid of Qiao Xiao, but he wanted to find the traces of the ministers. The ministers were very important in this war. If the hostages were gone, then this would be a tough battle. Qiao Xiao had already brought the army here. Seeing that they were evenly matched, he did not have anything to restrain them. Then tonight's rebellion might not succeed. He went directly to the palace where the ministers were held. Cai Jin was carefully checking every corner. Qiao Ji walked back and forth in the entire hall. When he walked to a corner, he suddenly found that there was an obstacle in front of him, but in front of him, there was nothing. Camouflage. Sure enough, when he removed the camouflage, he saw that the entire corner of the hall was filled with mud from the bottom to the top, and a very obvious hole was exposed. F***ck, it turned out that they dug the tunnel like a rat. Come on, go after them. Since they are hiding in the tunnel, they are dead. In the end, the people who went down reported that the tunnels here were connected in all directions. They did not know where they led, and there were countless forks. It was really difficult to track them down. Qiao Ji remembered that they had also come in through the tunnel at the bottom of the lake. Go to the other exit and guard there. If anyone comes out, capture them if they are the ministers. As for the others, kill them without mercy. And you guys, start a fire from here and use smoke to smoke them to death. Fortunately, Qiao Yun and the others were quick-witted and had already left the tunnel. Otherwise, Qiao Ji's plan could really smoke them to death in the tunnel. However, Qiao Ji did not expect that his plan would end up harming himself. Under the treatment of Yan Ran and Wan Wan, the Devil King in the flower-shaped palace finally woke up. As soon as he opened his eyes, he saw a cold and indifferent woman healing him. At this time, the woman's head was already covered in sweat, and her eyes were full of fatigue. However, she still persisted in absorbing the poison from his body. Thank you, Crown Princess. Seeing that the Devil King had finally woken up, Yenran felt as if a huge rock had been lifted from her heart. Devil King, most of the poison in your body has been removed. After a few more treatments, you should be completely healed. However, you can't use your demonic energy to fight yet. Otherwise, the poison will attack your heart. Even the gods won't be able to save you. Yenran put away the tools in her hand and instructed Wen Wan to help the Devil King put on his clothes. What's the situation outside? The Devil King sat up and asked weakly. Qiao Xiao has already gone to mobilize another army. They are probably fighting outside. I have set up a formation outside the palace. They won't be able to attack for a while, Yenran replied. And grandfather, I helped you save the ministers. A young child's voice sounded. The Devil King asked uncertainly, Crown Princess, is this your son? Yenran looked at her son who was pretending to be a little adult and replied, Yes, father. This is the grandson I gave birth to for you. With that, Qiao Yun solemnly bowed to the Devil King. Hello, grandfather. At this moment, the Devil King was a little happy. Come to my side. Let me take a good look at you. Qiao Yun went forward. Because he wasn't tall enough, he climbed onto the bed with his hands and feet. Then, he sat across from the Devil King. The two of them stared at each other. In Qiao Yun's eyes, the Devil King looked very handsome and powerful. It made him feel very safe. And in the Devil King's eyes, Qiao Xiao was 90% similar to Qiao Xiao and 70% similar to his Wang Fei. The more he looked, the more he liked him. Before the Devil King could say anything, Qiao Yun said, Grandfather, if you take in another secondary Fei, it will make grandmother sad. You are not following the way of the husband. When the Devil King heard this young voice, he almost laughed. My good grandson, do you know what it means to not follow the way of the husband? The way of the husband is the moral standard that a husband should abide by. The saying of driving away bad luck has long been proven to be a superstition by later generations. You actually believe in this superstition? If grandmother wakes up, she won't let you enter the room. The Devil King awkwardly coughed twice and saw that everyone below was holding back their laughter. What did you mean by helping me save the ministers? The Devil King asked. An old minister hurriedly knelt down. Devil King, His Highness the Crown Prince is extremely intelligent and brave. He risked his life to save us from the hands of the state preceptor. Just now, all of us old ministers almost died under the state preceptor's blade. And among us, Lord Lu was beheaded by Imperial Uncle. With that, he lay on the ground and began to cry. The Devil King's eyes surged with monstrous waves, but his body was still weak. He immediately coughed and clenched his fists. You dare? Help me out. I want to see what this Imperial Uncle and the state preceptor want to do. Yenran hurriedly stepped forward and advised, Devil King, don't use demonic energy. Your body is important. There is still us. Chapter 339. Just as the Devil Monarch arrived outside the hall, the guard at the door hurriedly knelt down. Reporting to the Devil Monarch, Imperial Uncle and Imperial Preceptor have surrounded this place with 3 layers inside and 3 layers outside, continuously attacking this place. Fortunately, the Crown Princess has set up an array to hold on until now. Listen, the sounds of killing are endless outside. It is a chaotic battle. Everyone stood at the entrance of the hall and heard the sounds of killing coming from all directions. It was originally very far, but in a short while, it was very close. Even the sound of swords piercing into flesh seemed to be right next to their ears. The scene of the battle was just outside the hall. All the soldiers who were fighting were in a sorry state. Bright red bloodstains were flowing down from their armor, and there were obvious wounds on their arms and thighs. Their clothes were cut open, and at a glance, it was obvious that it was a knife wound. Everyone's eyes were so anxious that it seemed to be on fire. And not far away, there were 2 prominent figures, which were especially eye-catching in the darkness. These 2 people were twice as tall as the soldiers beside them, and their clothes were quite revealing. Yenran took a glance and saw that one of them was actually the half-naked Xiao Xiao, and the other was a slightly older beauty with an explosive figure. She was only wearing a gauze dress as she flew around in the air. That is His Highness the Crown Prince and Madame Qiao? A minister at the side shouted with joy. It seems that His Highness the Crown Prince has already borrowed Madame Qiao's military force. Another old minister stroked his beard and nodded with satisfaction. His Highness the Crown Prince has finally grown up, and is no longer the hedonistic young master from before. Now, he can really shoulder the heavy responsibility. It turns out that his original body was also so handsome. Another minister also said with a smile, Madame Qiao is really valiant and formidable. Her elegance has not decreased in the past. Qiao Yun looked with wide eyes. Mom, why did Dad suddenly become bigger? I am not used to it. And Yenran, who was staring at Xiao Xiao, saw that his perfect body was exposed, and the muscles all over his body were bulging, full of strength. At this moment, because his body was exerting force, the muscles were constantly trembling, and the elastic buttocks were full of wild beauty. At this moment, in Yenran's eyes, he was simply a war god bursting with hormones. At this moment, Xiao Xiao chopped off the head of a soldier, and a stream of blood spurted out, sprinkling Xiao Xiao's face. Xiao Xiao, who was full of demonic nature, stuck out his tongue and licked his lips. Then, he felt a gaze full of substance penetrate everything and land on his body. He raised his eyes and saw Yenran looking at him with a fascinated expression. Her small mouth was slightly open, and a cute little tongue leaked out from the corner of her mouth, a little bit of silver glittering under the moonlight. Xiao Xiao was startled. Only now did he remember his current appearance, and his heart was apprehensive. Would he scare Yenran? But it didn't seem to be the case. Could it be that Yenran liked him? Following this, Xiao Xiao waved the blade in his hand with even more vigor. That wave of his hand seemed even more like a beautiful dance, and that stomp of his foot seemed to add a musical rhythm to the battlefield. The demon lord was so angry that he spontaneously released a stream of air from his body, throwing the kneeling soldiers to the side. The stone sculpture at the entrance of the hall was directly knocked aside. In this state, the demon lord pushed aside the imperial guards supporting him and strode out. Looking at the soldiers outside who were originally his subordinates, waves of cold laughter spilled out of his mouth. Everyone involuntarily stopped what they were doing, watching as the demon lord's dignified face appeared before their eyes. Xiao Xiao saw the demon lord walk out and was overjoyed. It seemed that the poison had been removed. He passed through the dense crowd, and an angry roar came from his heart. "Royal Father, everything is clear now. Others actually dared to bully us, and even caused my imperial mother to be like this." Before they could say anything else, two people walked out from the encirclement of soldiers outside the hall. One of them was rather old, and the other had white hair. They were the imperial uncle and the imperial advisor. "Demon Lord, my dear nephew, I still respectfully address you as Demon Lord because you are still on the throne, but in a little while, I reckon that you will respectfully address me as Demon Lord. Ha 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 ha." The Demon Lord's aura was astonishing. "Imperial uncle, are you thinking of rebelling today?" No, 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 this isn't called rebelling, this is called bringing order to chaos. Look at what the demon realm is like now, singing and dancing in prosperity, the country is prosperous, and the people are at peace. How is this like the demon realm? The demon realm should be a place where demons and ghosts run rampant, causing the 6 realms to tremble. Don't forget, we were originally the axe in Pangu's hand. It was just bad luck that we didn't create the god realm, but why? The god realm is high and mighty, and we have to live in another world. Look at you, now you only know how to be intimate with your princess. Beautiful women are always a source of disaster. She is too beautiful and has smoothed out your demonic nature. This is not the demon realm we want. I have planned for 5 years to bring order to chaos. Originally, I wanted to wait until today when your princess is terminally ill, until you consummate with your concubine, and let you die of poison during the consummation. Perhaps then our demon realm will return to its warlike state. But I didn't expect that you would disappoint me too much. You didn't even want the beautiful woman who sent herself to your door. You were actually led astray by a few words from your hedonistic crown prince. Tell me, with your temperament, can the demon realm be managed well? According to you, the demon realm should be at war all day long, and continue to fight with the god realm for tens of thousands of years, making the common people unable to make a living. This is the best for the demon realm, right? The demon lord listened to his imperial uncle's nonsense and was so angry that his whole body trembled. Of course. Otherwise, how can we become the demon realm? The demon realm is full of demons and ghosts. What's the use of sending your son to the human world to gain experience? If you send him to the demon realm or the god realm, I can still understand. Everything in the human world is calm and peaceful. It is the weakest place. If there is a real war, if the 6 realms are unified, what other way out for the human world other than being destroyed? The imperial uncle continued to mislead the crowd with his lies. The human world will not be destroyed. You are too narrow-minded. There is only justice and evil in this world. Justice will always exist, and evil like you will be razed to the ground. A clear female voice sounded. This sentence was said with spiritual power, and it shocked everyone's eardrums. Yenran walked to the front of the crowd and exposed her body under the moonlight. Her cold temperament was like a flower on a high mountain. Between her eyebrows, there was awe-inspiring righteousness. A wave of spiritual power was released from her eyes, and everyone felt like a sharp knife brushing past their faces. The imperial uncle and the state preceptor were swept back by the wave. You are the crown princess who came back from the human world. This is the first time I have seen you. You can't be underestimated. Imperial uncle, she is the one who delayed our important matter today. Originally, everything was going smoothly. The white-haired state preceptor stepped forward and said, "It seems that the original hedonistic crown prince has some ability. He brought back a capable crown princess from the human world. Come, bring you, who was originally the crown prince's palace." Yuera's hands were tied up by 2 soldiers, and she was pushed and shoved forward. This delicate beauty cried miserably, "Your Highness the Crown Prince, you have to save me." I've already been yours for a long time. When Yanran heard this, she glanced at Xiao Xiao. What, there is a romantic debt in the demon realm? Xiao Xiao was angry when he heard this. What nonsense are you talking about? Even if you are my palace maid, I have never touched you. You, immediately cried. Your Highness, you can't eat and not admit it. Before you went to the human world, I was the one who warmed your bed. Xiao Xiao looked at Yanran's eyes that were getting colder and colder. He was so anxious that he jumped up and down. Yanran, don't listen to her nonsense. Our demon realm will not be like that before the wedding. Humph. Enough, stop acting there. Do you want to save her or not? If you want to save her, then just abdicate. The state preceptor directly interrupted the topic. The Devil Lord sneered. You want to use a servant to threaten us? Isn't your rank too low? My son is as infatuated as I am. Not to mention this month, even if there were a dozen beauties, my son wouldn't move a finger. This kind of nonsense servant should be beaten to death. I'll give him to you. Xiao Xiao gave the Devil Lord a thumbs up. Father, you still understand me. After he finished speaking, his mood immediately improved. He shouted at Yanran, Aran, did you hear that? Yanran immediately rolled her eyes at him. Right now, there is a great enemy in front of you, is that your focus? The Devil Lord directly said, Humph, do you really think we are soft persimmons? If you want a rebel, you have to know the price you have to pay. I really didn't see through your wolf's ambition before, and you even dared to harm my princess to this extent. Today, let's settle the score. The Devil Lord immediately released a vigorous devil chi, and his black hair fluttered like sharp thorns. Yanran immediately said nervously, Devil Lord, you can't use devil chi. Don't worry, Crown Princess. The Devil Lord's robes began to swell, like a wind wreaking havoc in his body. Then, the Devil Lord's hands formed a seal, and he spread them to the sides. With a gust of wind, an order was issued that penetrated through the entire imperial palace and spread outwards, repeatedly playing out in the streets and alleys of the demon world. Everyone, hear my order. I am the Devil Lord. I order all of you to rise and fight, protect your homes, and suppress all those who want to rebel. Hearing the Devil Lord's summons, the common people on the streets and alleys took up large sabers and clubs, surging towards the imperial palace like a flood. The people of the demon world usually lived peaceful lives, but as people of the demon world, how could they not have a demonic nature in their bodies? It was just that they had not been given the chance to display it. Now, the chance had come. With a single order from their beloved Devil Lord, they could fully display their nature. It was truly satisfying to the extreme. Men, women, old and young were different from the people of the human world. They did not have women and children, nor did they have the old, the weak, the sick, or the disabled. They only knew how to wave their devil chi into the air, transforming it into an unstoppable force that charged at the rebels and traitors in the imperial palace. The imperial uncle and the state preceptor did not expect that they would be tied with the crown prince's army. At this time, there were actually new people joining. However, these people of the devil world were usually poorly trained. Even if there were many of them, they would not be able to fight against the elite soldiers for a while. The battle immediately entered a stalemate. One side had the advantage in numbers, while the other side had the advantage in training. As they fought in the imperial palace, both sides suffered disastrous losses. Devil chi soared through the imperial palace. Under the illumination of the torches, it dyed the sky black. Chapter 340. Xiao Xiao watched anxiously. Seeing the casualties of the common people, he was about to rush into the battlefield again when he heard the devil monarch say, Xiao, come to the hall. Xiao Xiao heard the devil monarch's call. He recited a spell in his heart and returned to his original form. With a flying body, he jumped into the array outside the hall. In the blink of an eye, he entered the hall. Father, what orders do you have? Xiao, I sent you to the human world to gain experience. Have you learned the power of the devil race? Of course, I can already use it skillfully in the Yin-Yang array. Good. The devil monarch looked at Xiao Xiao and showed a look of admiration. Xiao, the power of the devil race is the third military force of the devil world. This force is like the sea of stars, only the devil monarch can mobilize it. Today, I was harmed by the villains, but it seems that it was already planned. Your family came back just in time to save me and the princess. Qiao Yun saved the ministers. Xiao father is very relieved. Now, I can't use the devil chi, but you can. I can pass on the skills passed down by the devil monarch of this generation to you. Use your power of the devil race to defeat these evil creatures and return the devil world a bright and clear tomorrow. Xiao Zhao's eyes lit up. Father, that's great. I feel very guilty when I see the common people outside get hurt. Xiao, come with me. The devil monarch brought Xiao Xiao into the hall and closed the door. He taught him the method of controlling the power of the devil race. When Xiao Xiao came out again, his eyes were full of light. At this time, Yanran walked to him. Xiao, let's work together to release your power of the devil race. Xiao Zhao's eyes lit up. He kissed Yanran's face fiercely. Yun, now you have to return the totem to mother. See how mother and father defeat these bad guys. Xiao Xiao obediently took off his totem and handed it to his mother. Xiao Xiao and Yanran looked at each other and silently recited the spell in their hearts. The two totems, one male and one female, flew into the sky and began to rotate. Not knowing what force attracted the two totems overlapped and suddenly released a dazzling light. Then Xiao Xiao recited the spell that the devil monarch taught him in his heart and fiercely cut his forearm. A stream of blood flew towards the totem. This was the blood of the highest bloodline in the devil world and also one of the keys to activating the power of the devil race. A beam of light shot into the sky, forming a straight pillar of light. After a while, layers of black clouds rolled in from the darkness of the sky. At first, it was not clear, but as it got closer, one could see that the layers of clouds were pressing down on the sky, as if a thick layer of black paint had been brushed down. Then, with a tilt, thousands of soldiers and horses rushed down from the sky. Those cold armor, sharp blades, expressionless, strange faces, and thunder-like war drums pressed down from the sky. The soldiers who were surrounding the flower palace were obviously shocked by this strange phenomenon. Everyone bent their bodies slightly and turned their heads to look up. Their eyes were filled with horror as they tilted their necks to look at the rolling torrent descending from the sky. Some soldiers had already lifted their front feet and tilted their center of gravity backward, ready to escape at any time. Father, we've succeeded. Xiao Xiao looked at the soldiers who were constantly descending. They were the soldiers from the ancient battlefield. He excitedly shouted. Xiao Xiao directly used the power filled with devil chi to announce to the entire devil palace, all our troops and commoners are to retreat to the outside of the palace. The power of the devil race will eliminate the demons and ghosts in your place. With this order, Madame Qiao led everyone to quickly retreat. Soon, the space within the devil palace was empty, leaving only the imperial uncle and the imperial advisor's troops. They saw that the vanguard of the soldiers descending from the sky had already rushed to the ground and directly scattered the troops surrounding the palace. The troops on both sides immediately got entangled with each other. As they fought, the imperial uncle and the imperial advisor's troops discovered that these soldiers were too terrifying. They were not afraid of death at all, or it could be said that they could not be killed. Chopping off an arm or leg was a small matter. Even if they were missing a piece, they would still jump around on the battlefield. Aside from their strange appearance, their fighting strength was not bad at all. Occasionally, there would be a head that was chopped off, which was slightly effective. After falling to the ground, they would never get up again. After a while, they would turn into shadows on the ground and then be reborn from the clouds, continuing to join the battle. Originally, the imperial uncle was still watching from the side. At this moment, he was being chased by a few expressionless soldiers. He was greatly shocked in his heart. Qiao Ji, we can't win. These people can't be killed at all. He was in a sorry state like a stray dog. Capture those ministers for me. Tell them to stop. If they don't stop, kill them. The imperial uncle was already possessed. He shouted hysterically and was about to go crazy. At this moment, Chao Ji had no choice but to tell the truth. There are no ministers. The ministers all ran away through the tunnel. Only then did the imperial uncle realize that he did not even have any hostages. In extreme fear, he shouted, "Bring up all our captives." A group of servants from the demon palace were brought up. Many of them were old people by the demon monarch's side. The imperial uncle directly took out a knife and held it against one of the demon monarch's closest subordinates. "My good nephew, your family is really capable. You can actually resist all the troops of the demon world. What do we do now? Do you want to protect your throne or your servants?" The demon monarch looked at the knife rubbing against the neck of the imperial uncle. Blood was already seeping out of the neck. He could not help but clench his fists. The imperial uncle saw that the demon monarch did not speak for a long time and knew that he had to be ruthless. He glared and was about to bring the knife down when he heard the demon monarch shout, "Wait!" The imperial uncle laughed wildly. His hair and beard were trembling from his laughter. He knew that the demon monarch was soft-hearted. If he was ruthless, he could grab onto his weakness and win, just like how he had dealt with the princess. Unexpectedly, the devil monarch directly bowed to the servants. "Everyone here has been following me for many years. Now that we have been harmed by villains and forced to abdicate by the imperial uncle, I have already called upon the people of the devil realm to rise up and resist. Furthermore, the crown prince has also summoned the power of the devil race to suppress us. We are already in the grasp of the situation. Now that they are using your lives to threaten us, they are just an arrow at the end of its flight." The imperial uncle's eyes widened. The demon monarch actually did not care about the lives of these old people. It was really out of his expectations. "Good, good. Then don't regret it." After saying this, he waved his hand and the imperial uncle's knife was about to come down. "Wait!" Yenran suddenly shouted. The imperial uncle's knife stopped again. It seems that there is still someone who understands. Unexpectedly, Yenran took a step forward and pointed her right hand at the endless stream of demon race soldiers in the sky. "Imperial uncle, look at these warriors in the sky. Your rebellion this time has already failed. You just have to take a few more lives before you die. I have a suggestion. The imperial preceptor dares to harm the princess. The demon monarch will definitely not forgive him. If imperial uncle can kill the imperial preceptor with your own hands, it will also be a great merit. I think the demon monarch will definitely consider reducing your punishment, but if you still insist on doing things your own way and murder the old people, then you will only die miserably." After saying this, Yenran pulled on Qiao Zhao's sleeve. The two of them looked at each other and silently recited the incantation in their hearts, directly stopping the power of the demon race. All the soldiers stood among them like puppets, finally giving the imperial uncle and the imperial preceptor some time to breathe. The imperial uncle fell to the ground and looked at the puppets surrounding him. A knife flew from the distance and stopped in front of him. If he did not pay attention just now, he would have lost his life. In an instant, his heart seemed to jump out of his chest. He looked at the servant in front of him and the knife in his hand. Suddenly, he burst out and picked up the knife that stopped in front of him. Before the imperial preceptor could react, he pierced through his body and stabbed at the imperial preceptor. Chao Ji was shocked. At this moment, it was a test of one's heart. To think that he had given advice to this imperial uncle for 5 years, and in the end, this was the outcome. His entire body's demonic chi erupted, and directly repelled the imperial uncle. Then, he summoned his own demonic beast, the giant wolf, and quickly flew into the sky. When Xiao Xiao and Yenran saw that the plan was successful, they immediately activated the power of the demon race and chased after Chao Ji with all their strength. Chao Ji directly hit the power of the demon race in the air and was driven to the ground. He had no choice, there was no way to go up to the sky, so he had to escape. He did not even think about it, he directly went into the palace of Minister Guan and escaped through the tunnel there. But he really forgot that he was the one who ordered to block the exit and ignite the fire to smoke the people in the tunnel. So, no one saw Chao Ji come out of the tunnel. At this time, the imperial uncle made everyone realize that in front of a human life, all the gains and losses were nothing. He saw the imperial uncle lying on the ground and wailing at the devil monarch. Devil monarch, it's all because of this Chao Ji who bewitched me and made me fall into his trap. He was the one who poisoned me, not me. You must spare me. When the other soldiers saw that the state preceptor and the imperial uncle had been executed, they threw down the weapons in their hands and prostrated themselves on the ground. These soldiers were also blinded by lard. They were bewitched by the imperial uncle and blocked their future in this earth-shattering rebellion. However, they didn't expect that they would almost lose their lives. The scene was filled with wails. All the demon race soldiers collectively surrendered and begged for mercy. Their cries shook the sky. Outside the palace, Madame Chao's army and the common people could hear it clearly. At this time, the common people finally saw that the imperial uncle's rebellion had failed, and they had protected their home. These simple people of the demon realm cheered outside the demon palace, singing and dancing. The whole night seemed to have turned into day, and the sound of gongs and drums did not stop until dawn. At this time, Yanran said to the demon lord, "Imperial father, you and imperial mother have a good rest tonight. I will come to treat you tomorrow. I am a little tired today, so I will take Chao Shao back first. Chao Shao will stay here. You grandfather and grandson have a good chat." After saying that, she did not look back and pulled Chao Shao away, hurriedly walking as if something was chasing after them. Chapter 341. The Crown Prince's palace had not been able to escape unscathed from this battle. Fortunately, there was Uncle Wu. He directed the servants to clean up the scene of the Crown Prince's palace in an extremely short amount of time. The bloodstains on the walls were all wiped clean, and the broken walls were temporarily ignored. The messy palace was tidied up neatly, and there was no sign of the disaster that had just occurred. Some of the furniture that had been used for decoration had been smashed. Uncle Wu looked at the empty Crown Prince's palace and felt his heart ache. Other than an undamaged bed, there was not even an undamaged table. "Let's make do tonight and redecorate tomorrow." He opened the wardrobe and saw that most of the clothing was still there, especially the pajamas and the erotic underwear he had brought with him this time. Each piece was neatly folded for the Crown Prince and the Crown Princess to choose from. He cleaned up the two most important places for sleeping at night. One was the bathroom, the other was the bedroom. He also directed the servants to make supper and waited for the Crown Prince and the Crown Princess to return. As expected, a short while later, the Crown Prince and the Crown Princess hurried in. Just as they entered the door, Chao Shao shouted, "Uncle Wu, I'm starving to death." Then he saw the Crown Prince's savage attire. His body was covered in blood and dirty, but it did not cover his elegance. "Your Highness the Crown Prince, supper is ready. Do you want to eat first or bathe first?" Yanran answered on behalf of Chao Shao, "Eat first." Chao Shao wolfed down all the food. The fight just now had expended a lot of his energy, and he urgently needed to replenish it. Yanran smiled as she watched him eat. She kept on giving him food as she muttered, "Eat more. This is too exhausting. Don't tire my Shao." Chao Shao was coaxed and fed by Yanran. He felt that he was full. He turned around and fed Yanran a bowl of porridge. After Yanran ate it in a few bites, she said to Uncle Wu, "We're going to bathe." She pulled Chao Shao into the bathroom. After entering, she found that it was a natural hot spring filled with flower petals. Uncle Wu had already placed her erotic underwear at the side. Yanran looked at Uncle Wu, who was full of tricks and was secretly amused. Chao Shao had already jumped into the bath. His body was sticky and uncomfortable. The warm water wrapped around his body and seeped into every pore. It was so comfortable. "Yanran, come quickly." After a while, Yanran came out from behind the screen. With just one glance, Chao Shao froze. Yanran was wearing a fleshy pink lingerie. Her upper body was covered with only two straps at the back of her neck, covering her chest. She was as elegant as a fairy's doo-doo type short muslin dress. The length of her dress only covered her navel. As for her lower body, cough cough, it was a no-take. At this time, Yenran was leaning seductively on the screen. Her hair was all scattered, like waves on her empty back. Her gaze was like a fiery hook that extended infinitely, like a finger reaching in front of Xiao Xiao. Then, Xiao Xiao saw Yenran walk into the bathtub in a flirtatious manner. She sat by the side of the bathtub and used her fair legs to paddle in the water. Little by little, she raised her head and used her eyes to seduce Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao watched like this, and it was as if there was a ferocious beast crazily running around in his body. Originally, the battle that day had completely released his demonic nature, but now, looking at Yenran like this, he felt that he was going to be demonized again. He paddled uncontrollably towards Yenran. That unconcealable charm was the countless hands that were teasing his gaze. Those legs that were constantly paddling the water were the culprits that were teasing his body. He grabbed Yenran's little legs that were messing around in the water and was about to pull her into the water. However, he was stopped by a jade-like finger from Yenran. He heard Yenran's upper body lean slightly and her red lips slightly opened. "Ah Xiao, can you transform for me to see?" Xiao Xiao was stunned. "Yenran, aren't you afraid of me transforming? Don't you think I look like a monster?" Unexpectedly, Yenran's eyes suddenly lit up. "Ah Xiao, I think you're especially charming. Just now, I was too far away, so I didn't see clearly. Let me see you transform again." With that said, Yenran's hand reached towards Xiao Xiao's chest. Xiao Xiao only felt his qi and blood surging as waves of tremors rose from the bottom of his heart. Looking at Yenran's expectant eyes and her alluring waist that was faintly discernible, Xiao Xiao did not care about anything else. The devil aura in his body exploded as he fell backwards into the water. All the muscles and bones in his body turned like gears, as if they were being pulled in all directions. In front of Yenran's eyes, from his feet to his head, muscles jumped out from the surface of his skin. His calves were elongated, his thighs were elongated, his waist was elongated, and his chest was elongated. A kind of mechanical beauty of strength appeared in front of Yenran's eyes. Yenran let out a gasp of admiration as her eyes lit up. Xiao Xiao was like a giant that covered the entire pool. Without needing Xiao Xiao to pull her again, Yenran directly jumped onto Xiao Xiao's body. Only then did she realize how small she was. She wanted to wrap her arms around Xiao Xiao's waist, but she realized that she could only hold on to the sides of his waist. She directly laid on Xiao Xiao's body and then rolled back and forth freely. Xiao Xiao, this human mattress, was really too comfortable. She used her hands and feet to climb onto Xiao Xiao's neck and used her hands to hook around it with great effort. Then, she stroked his jade-like smooth face. "Ah Xiao, I think you're very manly." The last syllable was like a smooth little hand, caressing Xiao Xiao's body. Xiao Xiao was conflicted about whether his suddenly enlarged appearance was good or not, and whether Yenran would like it. He didn't expect to receive Yenran's affirmation. He happily scooped up Yenran and let her sit on his body, using his hands to support her willowy waist. Then, Xiao Xiao discovered the disadvantage of becoming bigger. He didn't know how to control his strength and accidentally pinched Yenran. Unexpectedly, Yenran blushed and said to Xiao Xiao, "It's quite exciting." "Wow." Then, the pool of warm water immediately turned into a pool of spring water. The sound of splashing water rang out in all directions for the entire night. Water constantly overflowed and flowed into the main hall. Uncle Wu stood guard at the door and chased all the servants away with a smile. "The demon realm is still the best. You can do whatever you want." Early the next morning, Qiao Yun came to wake the two of them up. However, Qiao Yun was already used to his parents' behavior of lazing around in bed. He actually came to fulfill the Devil Lord's request to call his mother to treat her illness. However, when he woke up early in the morning, he didn't let Wen Wan stay idle. He helped treat our man's foot injury before coming over. Along the way, he saw that the entire demon palace had been destroyed. He frowned and said to the servant behind him, "Go and call your minister of the imperial household over." The minister of the imperial household hurried over. After bowing to the crown prince directly sat on a rock and began to lecture. "The layout of the demon palace needs to be changed. Previously, We only cared about the aesthetics and didn't meet the standards for safety. Now that the demon palace has been destroyed, we can adjust all the layout. In a while, I will draw a blueprint for you. I will follow it." The minister of the imperial household nodded his head like he was pounding garlic. He had already heard the details of the crown prince's deeds vividly. He was truly a hero from a young age. The image of the crown prince in the hearts of the people became incomparably tall. His courage and wisdom were simply admirable. When Qiao Yun arrived at the crown prince's palace, he was speechless when he saw his parents lazing around in bed. "Uncle Wu, when did they sleep last night?" "Crown Prince, they didn't sleep last night. They only slept this morning." The crown prince looked at the sun hanging high above his head. "They slept for a few hours. It's about time." Grandfather called mother to treat grandmother's illness. Then, he began to inspect the entire crown prince's palace. "Uncle Wu, I will draw a blueprint for you in a while. Let's refurbish this place." Uncle Wu readily agreed. This crown prince was really different from other children. His brain was extremely good since he was young. Most importantly, he liked to worry. He would get to the bottom of every matter in the family. When he saw something that he didn't like, he would adjust it to his liking. Uncle Wu gave the crown prince a label: obsessive-compulsive disorder. However, this really saved him a lot of trouble. When Xiao Xiao and Yanran weren't at home, the crown prince fully deserved to be called the true little master of the house. While waiting for his parents to wake up, Qiao Yun had already drawn the blueprint for the crown prince's palace that he wanted to design. He stood up and looked at the tightly shut door. He sighed and continued to draw the blueprint for the demon palace. When he finally finished drawing the blueprint for the demon palace, Qiao Yun realized that the sun was about to set. His parents had finally woken up. "Dad, Mom, I have to criticize you. Grandma is still waiting for you to cure her. Everything in the demon realm needs to be treated. Grandpa has been waiting for you all day." Xiao Xiao stepped forward and stroked Qiao Yun's soft black hair. "Son, you'll understand when you get married. A warm bed and a soft pillow. The night of spring is short and the sun rises high. From now on, the emperor will not attend morning court." After Qiao Yun smoothed out the hair that Xiao Xiao had messed up, he walked to his mother's side. "Mom, you can't spoil Dad like this. He has led you astray." Yanran coughed. It seemed that she had led Xiao Xiao astray last night. "Good boy, what did you do today?" "I redesigned the demon palace and the crown prince's palace." Qiao Yun took out the blueprint and handed it to Yanran. Yanran looked at it and gave her son a thumbs up. "Not bad, but it's not comprehensive enough. We don't know the number of casualties yesterday, whether we have enough manpower, and we don't have the budget. It's going to be a huge project, and it will probably cost a lot." Qiao Yun lowered his head and thought for a moment. "Mom, I will think about it." Xiao Xiao pulled his son's head over. "Your mom is a workaholic. Son, you should enjoy life to the fullest. I will take you out to play later." "No, Dad. I'll finish the blueprint first before playing." Qiao Yun looked at her incomplete blueprint and fell into deep thought again. "Yanran, my son is so much like you. Why didn't he inherit my free and wild personality?" Yanran's expression was very good. Last night's nourishment had made her feel good. "Our son is a combination of our strengths. Look, you and your son are practically made from the same mold. You are so handsome that it is earth-shattering." Chapter 342. Xiao Zhao's hair was immediately smoothed. He hugged his son's head. "Come, smile for your mother." Two flowers bloomed in front of Yanran. One was pleasing to the eye, one was bold and bright, and one was slightly serious. Yanran pinched her son's face. "Good son, how old are you? How did you learn to be so old?" Xiao Xiao also moved his face closer. "Wife, I also want to come here." Yanran smiled and pushed away the enlarged face in front of her, while Xiao Zhao's handsome face turned and a kiss fell on Yanran's cheek. "When you two were showing off your affection, did you consider your son's feelings? Chow Yun said slowly. Son, after so many years, I thought you were already used to it. Why are you still complaining? Chow Shao flicked Chow Yun's forehead. What do you say? Let your mother give birth to a little sister for you. This will also make your personality more lively. Mom is so busy that she doesn't even have time to care about me. The whole family is managed by me. If you give birth to another one, it won't make me more lively, but will make me busy to death. After saying that, Chow Yun picked up his blueprint and went to the side to work hard. Yen Ran pinched Chow Zhao's nose. With such an energetic son, what else do you have to worry about? Just take care of yourself and earn more money to support the family. Chow Shao hugged Yen Ran and stole a kiss on her lips. Aran, I still have to fulfill my duty as a husband. Last night, was your husband's strong wife satisfied? Yenron's face suddenly turned red. Rogue. Last night, Chow Shao doubled in size, which was really a bit too much for Yen Ran to bear. But looking at Chow Shao like that, she really felt a sense of security. When the family of 3 arrived at the princess consort's palace, they saw that the demon lord had moved his conference room here. Endless streams of officials were entering and exiting, and there was even a long line at the door. Chow Shao grabbed Eunuch Lu, the chief eunuch of the imperial palace. Imperial father was just cured of the poison yesterday, and you've been busy all day today? Eunuch Lu looked at His Highness the Crown Prince and immediately began to wipe away his tears. Your Highness the Crown Prince, you know the truth. The Devil Lord is really distressing. He has been busy since this morning. With such a big thing happening last night, everything needs the Devil Lord to decide. Even lunch was simple. This old servant sees that the Devil Lord's spirit is getting worse and worse, but there are so many things to do and no one can replace him. At noon, the Devil Lord was a little dizzy, but he is still busy. How can that be? I'll go take a look. Chow Shao and Yen Ran walked into the conference room together. They saw 3 officials sitting in front of the Devil Lord, all of them with gloomy faces and lowered heads in silence. Sitting at the head of the table, the Devil Lord's brows were tightly furrowed. What should have been a rosy complexion was now a swath of purple. Imperial Father, how did you tire yourself out like this? Didn't Yen Ran treat you for nothing yesterday? Chow Shao went forward, forgetting to bow. His palm was already on the Devil Lord's forehead. I'm fine, there's no need for you to worry. Right now, there's a troublesome matter that's giving me a headache. The Devil Lord pressed down on Chow Zhao's hand. Has something happened? Yen Ran stepped forward and bowed. Yesterday, because of Imperial Uncle's rebellion, many of the demon's demonic natures flared up. Just today alone, there have been many fights. Moreover, the soldiers suffered heavy casualties yesterday. There aren't enough soldiers to go out and maintain order, and there aren't enough demon doctors. Quite a few of the soldiers were heavily injured, and those who couldn't endure this afternoon have already died. Then how can we eliminate their demonic natures? Yen Ran glanced at Chow Shao and curiously asked. It might take quite a while. Last night, the blood in their bodies began to boil. Subjects with lower demonic natures will have less self-control and will probably only want to continue destroying. This way, the demon world will fall into chaos. The Devil Lord rubbed his temples. He had not completely removed the poison from last night, and the wound on his chest was still throbbing with pain. The Devil Lord waved his hand, having the officials in the room withdraw. He then said to Chow Shao and Yen Ran, Crown Prince, Crown Princess, the situation they reported to me was rather serious, but the demon world seems to have fallen into chaos today. I don't know if it's really like this or if someone is deliberately causing trouble. Since you've returned to the demon world, go down and take a look. Is it really that serious? And then see if there's any way to resolve it? After saying that, the Devil Lord directly lowered his eyes and lay down on the chair in exhaustion. Yen Ran hurriedly stepped forward and used her psychic sense to explore for a moment. He's just tired. There's only a little poison left. Let him have a good sleep. Yen Ran and Chow Shao left the room and went directly to Wang Fei's bedside. Wen Wan still had to do his best to take care of Wang Fei. His eyes were filled with anxiety. When he saw that Yen Ran had finally come, his eyebrows relaxed. "Crown Princess, you're here. Can we start detoxifying now?" Yenran was really embarrassed at this time. She was really an incompetent doctor. She ignored the patient and slept with Xiao Xiao until now. "Let's start." Yenran and Wan Wan divided the work and continued to detoxify Wang Fei's body. With the experience of detoxifying Wang Fei's body yesterday, they were more skilled today. Yenran placed the two totems directly on Wang Fei's chest and let the psychic power directly nourish her body so that she could withstand more pain caused by the detoxification. Wan Wan wholeheartedly protected Wang Fei with his whole body's devil energy. This person has been on the top of his heart for a lifetime. He really can't bear to see her suffer a little pain. Seeing her in pain is not as good as seeing her in pain. You have to hold her tightly in a while. Don't let Wang Fei move. Don't worry, I will protect her with my life. You love her? Yenran couldn't help but be curious. Wan Wan smiled bitterly. She is my only one. I know she loves the Devil Lord, and the Devil Lord loves her. I am just a brother in her heart, but I will always protect her. As long as she is happy, it is enough. Yenran couldn't help but admire Wan Wan. His lover treats him as a brother. How much determination does it take to let go? Wan Wan's eyes were focused, and he no longer had any distracting thoughts. He sat behind Wang Fei and hugged her upper body with both hands. "Wang Fei, I am sorry to offend you. This is to treat your illness." After that, he closed his eyes and turned his face to the side. Maybe this is the only way to relieve some of his lovesickness. Yenran no longer said anything. She put her hand on the wound on her chest and silently recited the hibiscus formula in her heart. The suction force in her hand was like a strong glue, pulling out a bloody line on her chest that had already scabbed. Blood flowed everywhere. After a while, it seemed to be blocked by something. A little black silk was sucked out from the middle and moved outward along with Yenran's hand. Wang Fei's body began to tremble a little. Yenran knew that the pain in her body was increasing. "Hold it tight." Wan Wan's arms suddenly tightened and hugged Wang Fei's entire upper body in his arms. He buried his head in Wang Fei's neck, hoping to pass on some strength to her. Xiao Xiao saw that he couldn't help and directly walked out. At this time, an official stopped him. "Your Highness the Crown Prince, this old official has something to say to you." Xiao Xiao followed the chief assistant official to the side. He saw the official kneel down in front of him with a plop, startling Xiao Xiao. "Minister, what are you doing?" Xiao Xiao quickly went forward and wanted to help him up. But the minister knelt on the ground and refused to get up. "Your Highness the Crown Prince, please agree to my request. Get up and speak slowly." "Your Highness the Crown Prince, when the Devil Lord sent you to the human world to train, it was to make you a person with a sense of responsibility. From last night's rebellion, we have always thought that your training in the human world was very successful and that it was time for you to come back." After this old official said this, the other old officials all came in front of Xiao Xiao and knelt on the ground. Xiao Xiao was a little confused. "Sirs, this topic is too serious. Can we find a room to talk?" Only then did the officials agree to stand up and go with Xiao Xiao to a side hall next door. "Sirs, why do you say this? Yesterday, Imperial Uncle just rebelled, and today, you have usurped my position. Where does this place my royal father?" Xiao Xiao looked at the officials and was really puzzled. "Your Highness the Crown Prince, you may not know, but yesterday, Imperial Uncle rebelled. Although he said that he wanted to restore the demon realm to a warlike demon realm, we definitely oppose this. However, he was right about one thing, and that is that your royal father and princess consort are too close. He completely belongs to the type of person who loves beauties and not the country. These years, although he has worked hard on government affairs, we all know that his mind is not on it. What he wants most is to take your royal mother to put down the heavy burden on her and go out to see the world." The cabinet elder spoke sincerely. "So, Xiao Xiao had a bad feeling. So we think that your Highness the Crown Prince, you are now young and responsible. You will definitely be able to develop our demon realm better. We hope that your Highness the Crown Prince can return to the demon realm." After the cabinet elder finished speaking, all the officials present repeated in unison, "We hope that Your Highness the Crown Prince can return to the demon realm." Xiao Xiao was stunned for a long time and did not answer. Originally, he and Yanran had agreed that in this life, he would stay in the human world, and in the next life, he and Yanran would return. Why was it that he was still a few decades away from being dragged back? "I think that royal father is still young. You are thinking too early. The people of the demon realm have a very long lifespan. Can you wait for me to return from the human world in 100 years before considering the matter of succession? Your Highness the Crown Prince, it is not that we are rushing you. The main thing is that you have also seen that the Devil Lord is tired today. The poison in his body has not been removed, and his physical strength is already somewhat weak. The Devil Lord has many things to do, and we are afraid that his body will not be able to take it. As the Crown Prince, can you let the Devil Lord enter a state of recuperation in advance? This is also your filial piety as a son." Several officials and Xiao Xiao laid out facts and reasons, making Xiao Xiao feel that if he did not succeed the throne, he would be a sinner for all eternity. He did not understand his parents' love, nor did he understand his royal father's hard work. He was the only one who was happy in the human world. Chapter 343. These old officials buzzed around Xiao Xiao's ears like flies. In the end, Xiao Xiao simply waved his hand and drove away all the flies around his ears. "Let's not talk about this matter for now. Let me think about it. Today, Imperial Father gave me an important task. Let's talk about it after I resolve this matter." After saying that, he ignored the old officials behind him. With his hands behind his back, he walked out of the side hall like a ruffian. It wasn't that the words of the old officials didn't cause ripples in his heart. When he saw how hard his father was working, his heart ached for him. But what about him and Yanran? He knew about Yanran's responsibility and mission in the human world. She would never leave the cultivation world alone. Xiao Xiao hesitated for a while. Although he drove away the words of the officials like flies, it still planted grass in his heart. Living in two separate places? This was not two separate places, but two separate times. Xiao Xiao didn't want to think about this headache. At most, he would tell Yanran and let Yanran worry about it. He walked to the door of the princess's bedroom and looked in through the crack of the door. He saw that his Yanran was working hard to treat his imperial mother. Yanran's eyes were closed. Her originally cold face was now frowning, as if she had encountered a critical moment. Her back was straight, and her fingertips were exerting force. Xiao Xiao knew that this was the signal of spiritual power passing through her fingertips. His imperial mother, who was lying on the bed, was now being held in Wen Wan's arms. Her upper body was trembling non-stop. At a glance, it was obvious that she was in great pain. This damned imperial uncle Chao Zhihe had harmed his imperial mother and imperial father to this extent. Fortunately, Yanran still had a way to treat them. Otherwise, they would have come to the demon world to attend their parents' funeral. The Crown Prince Palace would no longer exist. Their family of 3 would probably be hunted down. Just thinking about it made him feel a burst of fear. He looked out of the window and saw that the sun had already set. Clouds covered the horizon, and the moon was gradually climbing up. The clouds at night faintly covered the entire sky, as if the clouds in Xiao Zhao's heart would not dissipate for a long time. It wasn't until nightfall that Yanran finished her treatment work. She wiped her sweat and stretched her sore arms, indicating that Wen Wan could put Wang Fei down. Yanran said to Wen Wan, "Let's stop here for today. Another part of the poison has been removed. However, there is still a lot of poison in Wang Fei's body. It may take a few days to completely remove it." "Thank you, Crown Princess. Leave the rest to me." Yanran walked out of the room. Xiao Xiao stepped forward and hugged her. "My dear wife, are you tired? Are you interested in exploring the demon world with me? Are you going to complete the mission given by the Devil Lord?" Yanran hugged Jojo back, her small hands habitually stroking his waist. "I have to see it with my own eyes." If you are not tired, I will take you to visit the place where I grew up. Yenron's eyes curved. No matter how tired I am, I still want to go. That is the place where Ah Xiao grew up. Yenron's words made Xiao Zhao's heart full. It was as if a butterfly flew out of his heart and took the two of them out of the demon palace. The two of them arrived at the main street of the demon world. Yenran realized that the demon world was very similar to the ancient world of the human world. The old wooden houses, the streets were bumpy. On both sides, there were tea houses, taverns, pawn shops, and workshops forming the main shops. The demon world's roads were accessible in all directions. This should be related to their free nature. They can build whatever they want, so the entire street was very messy. Occasionally, there would be a few large manors scattered among them. In the manors, all the houses were arranged in the shape of an eye shape. Unlike the streets outside, they were neat and orderly. Ah Xiao, it's obvious that this is a rich family. Xiao Xiao looked around. Yes, these places are the homes of the ministers. There are also some entertainment places opened by very rich people. What kind of entertainment is there in the demon world at night? Yenran asked curiously. It's the same as the human world. Look over there, that's a casino. But it's different from the human world. It's not just about money. Generally speaking, they will bet their own arms, legs, or eyeballs. Will they really dig out their eyeballs if they lose the bet? Of course, the demon world values integrity. Even if they lose an eyeball, they can live quite well. Many people only have one eye. What about the one over there? There are many red lanterns hanging. What is that place? Xiao Xiao looked around. Yenran saw the most common place here. Cough, cough, Yenran, that is the demon world's brothel. There are so many brothels. I see one not far away. That's because the demons in the demon world are strong. If they are not given a channel to vent, then it will really be a mess. So in the demon world, brothels are the most common. Yenran pinched Xiao Zhao's slender waist. Did you come here often in the past? Xiao Zhao's eyes immediately wandered. I came here before, just to drink. Really? By the way, you can touch my little hand and kiss my little mouth, right? Xiao Xiao looked at Yenran's dangerous eyes and immediately interrupted. Yenran, look over there, someone is selling meat. Yenran originally wanted Xiao Xiao not to change the topic, but she looked up and saw that the person selling meat was selling a whole demon beast. It was very big, and it was dripping with blood. He kept shouting, "Come and see, the freshest demon beast. I went up the mountain today to hunt it. If you come late, you won't be able to drink the blood." After a while, a group of people gathered in front of his stall. Everyone seemed to have paid some demon coins, and then directly began to cut the demon beast in front of his stall. The people in the demon world were indeed fierce. They tore off a piece of meat and stuffed it into their mouths, eating it until their mouths were full of blood. It didn't take long for the magical beast to be torn to shreds. The surrounding people were obviously not satisfied with eating it. They kept shouting for the stall owner to bring out another magical beast. How can there be so many demon beasts? I went up the mountain today to hunt this one. The stall owner refused directly. This fresh blood is so fragrant. It's making me a little addicted. If you can't do it, you can get another one. I only have one. Where can I get a second one? Seeing that they were talking one after another, they actually started to fight with the stall owner. Are you people in the demon world unreasonable? That stall owner only has one demon beast. If it's sold out, then it's sold out. Why are you forcing him to take out another one to sell? Yenran was a little confused. Usually, this kind of thing doesn't happen. It seems that this is what my father meant when he said that something happened for no reason. Yenran, wait for me. I'll take care of them first. I can't let them fight. After that, Xiao Xiao went up and said to them fiercely, "How can you force people to buy and sell? Hurry up and leave, or I'll catch all of you." The people who came to eat the demon beast obviously ignored Xiao Xiao. They had never seen what the prince of the demon world looked like, but their eyes lit up. "Oh, this little guy is handsome. Why didn't you stay in the small restaurant? What are you doing here? Don't tell me you're starting to attract business now? After saying that, he was about to touch Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao had no choice but to directly use her magical power to hit the hand that was reaching towards her to the ground. She saw that person tumble to the ground and then crawl up with a grunt. F***ck, I was worried that there was no one to fight with. Today, you little brat delivered yourself to my doorstep. I will make you unable to get out of bed for 3 days and 3 nights. The other people also excitedly surrounded him. Xiao Xiao was so angry that he couldn't breathe. He originally wanted to stop them from fighting, but he didn't expect to be besieged. He was no longer polite. How could the people of the Devil Realm be truly reasonable? Just like that, they directly started fighting on the street. Of course, Xiao Xiao would definitely not be at a disadvantage. His guards had formed seals, so he was the only one who could beat others. In the blink of an eye, several big men were beaten to the ground. Xiao Xiao directly said, "Go home obediently. If you wander around behind me, I'll catch all of you." While Xiao Xiao was fighting, Yanran was entangled by another group of people. "Little girl, come and play with us. Are you new to this house? Originally, you stood upstairs to attract customers. Why are you taking the initiative to come down directly today? Is the business bad? Come, I'll give you an extra dish." Yanran directly waved her hand and swept this group of people to the ground. She had been paying attention to Xiao Zhao's situation. Although she knew that Xiao Xiao would not lose, he was her man. She was also worried. Unexpectedly, the group of people who were swept to the ground by her obviously seemed to be drunk. They were full of the smell of alcohol and burping. With Yanran's move, several of them directly vomited on the ground. The stench of vomit made Yanran cover her nose. She was about to walk to the side when she saw this group of people rushing directly to her. Yanran looked back and stared at them. "What? Are you going to rob a woman on the street? Rob? Robbing is because we think highly of you. You want to fight with us? I think you are tired of living. I don't care which family you are from. If you don't give us an explanation tonight, you can't go." Yanran was angry at them. They were really a group of unreasonable madmen. She was not polite anymore. She directly transferred her spiritual power to the palm of her hand and slapped them a few times. These people were directly slapped 5 feet away. These people were lying on the ground and did not get up for a long time. Yanran imitated Xiao Xiao and said, "If you dare to make trouble again, I'll arrest all of you." The two groups of people were beaten by Xiao Xiao and Yanran. They no longer dared to resist and fled quickly like rats crossing the street. At this time, Xiao Xiao frowned and said to Yanran, "It hasn't been so chaotic in the past. The security of the Devil World is very good. I didn't expect that in such a short time, both of us would be attacked. Fortunately, we were able to beat them. What if it were ordinary people of the Devil World? Would they really be bullied by them?" Yanran said worriedly. "It seems that the most important thing now is to wipe out their devil energy." The two of them looked at each other and smiled. They both thought of the same thing. "But Yanran, these are just some roadside gangsters. As long as there are enough soldiers, there is nothing to be afraid of. Order will be restored. I'm just worried that some other bad elements will take the opportunity to cause trouble." Chapter 344. Let's go, Yanran. I'll take you to see the most famous entertainment place in the demon world. It's a comprehensive entertainment place where nightclubs, casinos, baths, and auctions are concentrated in the human world. Xiao Xiao suddenly thought of a good place. "You mean, if there is an unstable factor, it is most likely to breed there?" Yanran squinted at him. "Ran knows me the best. I'm familiar with the boss there, and my sources of information are the most well-informed. If you want to inquire about something, you can just go there and ask him. It seems that you're really a hedonistic prince of the demon world. You don't even need me to interrogate you, and you took the initiative to confess." Xiao Xiao smiled embarrassedly. "Yanran, that was because I was young and ignorant. Now I'm a prodigal son who has turned over a new leaf. Yenran glared at him. Let's go see the dissolute life of the demon world's crown prince when he was young. After saying that, she strode forward with her head held high. Xiao Xiao hurriedly followed behind. Yenran is wrong, it's this way. The two people bickered, but the words that came out of their mouths were like honey. It sounded like Xiao Xiao's dark history, but in Yenran's heart, it was so real. Everything here made her feel strange, and the reason why Yenran wanted to quickly integrate was because this was Xiao Xiao's home. Yenran, look, this is the most fun place in the demon world that I said, the world's #1 villa. The carved door was 10 feet high. Although it was late at night, the door was still open. The words, the world's #1 villa, were written in a complicated devil world font. At first glance, it looked like an ancient mythological beast, but also like an ancient password. The words were made of an unknown material, but they were particularly conspicuous under the illumination of the light. The door was carved with an ancient pattern. It was a totem of the devil world, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, like a malicious spirit. Its huge head was raised to the sky, its huge mouth was wide open, and its feet were stepping on a wild beast. Its exposed fangs were still dripping with blood. All of this was showing the people of the devil world how powerful it was. The entrance looked like it was celebrating the new year. Red lanterns were hung all over the entrance, and countless luminous pearls were hung on the trees outside the entrance, illuminating the place as if it was daytime. It was as if all the people in the devil world had gathered here. The crowd was bustling. Yenran thought that she had arrived at a tourist attraction during the National Day. The people around the door didn't really want to go in. They just lingered at the door and didn't want to leave for a long time. Xiao, what are they doing at the door? Yenran asked curiously. Why are they all here? Xiao Xiao coughed twice and struck a pose for a photo. They want to take photos, but because they don't have a camera, they can only bring their families to watch and prove that they are here. Then Xiao Xiao touched his nose. Isn't it a little old-fashioned? Yenran pursed her lips and smiled. It's not old-fashioned. It's just a little cute. Xiao Xiao was immediately happy. The people of the devil world are really cute. Look over there. They want their whole family to strike a pose and then ask someone to draw. That's why painters in the devil world make a lot of money. Yenran looked over. Sure enough, there were many people holding pens and paper to help others draw. No wonder there were so many people that she couldn't squeeze in. How do we get in? Usually, you can only enter with an invitation. The entrance fee is very expensive. Then how much did you, the prince of the devil world, contribute to him? Xiao Xiao choked again. It's all Uncle Wu's money. I don't know, but I once heard the boss tell me that I only contribute 1% of his annual business, so I don't have any special treatment here. He also doesn't treat me as a prince. I'm just an ordinary customer. Then, Uncle Wu isn't here today. How do we get in? Right, Uncle Wu wasn't here. How could he and Yenran get in? Xiao Xiao thought for a long time. Yenran, do you want to experience the feeling of jumping over roofs and running over walls? We can just jump over the wall and give them a surprise. What do you think? Do you think we'll be kicked out? Xiao Xiao touched his body for a long time and pointed at a bead on his clothes. Xiao Xiao's heart ached for the flaw on his clothes for a long time. He gritted his teeth and said, If there's no other way, give this bead to him. This bead doesn't seem to be worth as much as the night pearl they hang on the tree. Do you think they'll want it? Just as Xiao Xiao and Yenran were thinking about how to get in, they saw a group of people shouting in the distance. Out of the way, out of the way. Madame Qiao is here. After a while, they saw two magical beasts opening a path in front of them. A fishy smell sprayed out. The people around them all retreated. A long line of people quickly came from behind. And among them, there was an extremely large and gorgeous carriage in the middle of the line. Yenran, I've thought of a way. My aunt is here. Let's go in with her. Xiao Xiao pulled Yenran and quickly weaved through the crowd until they reached the side of the carriage. He immediately used a camouflage technique. The people around the carriage felt a gust of wind and sand fly past and they all covered their eyes. It was at this moment that Xiao Xiao pulled Yanran into the carriage. This was Xiao Xiao's aunt. This first impression could not be bad. Yanran straightened her back and tidied up her clothes that were blown by the wind. She then revealed a proper smile. But the moment she raised her eyes, her smile stiffened. She saw a beautiful middle-aged woman in the carriage with her clothes half open. She leaned against the soft couch in the carriage. Her bright red undergarment was clearly visible. On the undergarment, there were 2 golden mandarin ducks. One was looking up at the sky and the other was kneeling on the ground. 2 straight and slender legs slid out of the sand-colored clothes. 2 male pets wearing rather thin clothes were currently massaging her. One was massaging her shoulders and the other was massaging her thighs. The male pet massaging her thighs had one hand hidden under the muslin clothes. Before Yanran could say anything, Xiao Xiao immediately pulled a piece of clothing from the side and covered the middle-aged woman's body. He then called out in a somewhat complaining tone, "Aunt." The middle-aged woman glanced at Xiao Xiao and then saw Yanran. She immediately sat up and pulled Yanran in front of her. Her pair of beautiful eyes looked at Yanran from top to bottom. She then hugged her and directly planted a kiss on Yanran's face. "Darling, you must be the crown prince consort. I've long wanted to get close to you. Today, I finally get to see you." Yanran was a bit frightened by Madame Qiao's enthusiasm. She blankly replied, "Hello, Aunt. Aunt, we want to go in. We'll ride your carriage together." Xiao Xiao continued the conversation. "They won't let you in?" Aunt opened her mouth wide in shock. After saying that, she chased the 2 male pets out of the carriage. "No, Aunt, we don't want to enter with great fanfare. Father sent us to secretly investigate. Did something happen again? Wasn't it all settled last night? There were quite a few people causing trouble today. Father is afraid that it was man-made." Madame Qiao tilted her head and thought for a while. She glanced at Yanran and then said, "Then after we go in, you go investigate. Remember to make your face uglier." With the 2 magical beasts clearing the way, the convoy went straight through the gate without stopping. After Madame Qiao had Yanran give Xiao Xiao ugly makeup, she nodded her head in dissatisfaction. "This nephew of mine is just like his mother. He looks too good. No matter how you draw, he won't be ugly. However, as the crown prince, you should do something for the demon realm. Properly investigate." After saying that, she grabbed Yanran and charmingly smiled at her. Then she kicked Xiao Xiao out of the carriage. Yanran was shocked. "Aunt, what are you doing?" She wanted to follow. Madame Qiao grabbed Yanran. "My niece-in-law, don't be impatient. Investigating a case is a man's matter. We only need to be responsible for being as beautiful as a flower. It's rare for you to come to the demon realm, so let me, your aunt, take you to properly play." "But Aunt, Xiao Xiao and I still have matters to attend to." Madame Qiao pushed her down on the soft couch and directly called in the 2 male pets. "Come, let the crown princess relax properly." Yanran immediately sat up and blocked the 2 male pets' hands. "Aunt, I'm not used to this." Madame Qiao giggled. "Look at you. Everything is good. Your skills are high and you're beautiful. It's just that you live too seriously. This is not good. Yanran, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Since you don't like them, I'll find you a few more that you like inside." Yanran's head was filled with black lines. But looking at Madame Qiao's stubbornness, it seems that she won't be able to investigate the case with Xiao Xiao. Just as she was thinking about something, she saw 2 white slender fingers reach out from the side of her mouth, pinching a grape and stuffing it into her mouth. Yanran looked over and saw a sweet-looking male pet smiling shyly at her. She was about to refuse, but seeing the pleading look in his eyes, she could only awkwardly open her mouth and eat it. Madame Qiao looked at Yanran with a smile. "Yanran, relax. Just treat it as a vacation." Xiao Xiao, who was outside the carriage, saw the male pets immediately blocking the carriage and the jealousy in their eyes was about to burn him. He rubbed his nose. It seems that this ant wants to bring Yen Ran to experience happiness. He looked at the carriage that was far away and was worried that his Yen Ran would be led astray. Xiao Xiao looked at his own attire. This mischievous ant had dressed him up as a servant. He looked at the gauze clothes he was wearing. Luckily, the clothes underneath were still there. He looked at the reflection of the illusory figure on the opposite door. It was dressed the same as the servant beside him. He thought to himself that it was good, it was low-key enough. But Xiao Xiao had forgotten what he looked like. He thought that he was dressed like a servant, but he never thought that in the eyes of others, he was a beautiful and delicate young man. He looked at the world's #1 villa that was located halfway up the mountain. From the foot of the mountain to the top of the mountain, there were all kinds of houses. It seemed that it was slightly different from the place he was used to playing in. After so many years, it was normal for there to be some changes. He no longer hesitated and rushed towards the largest house in the middle. Chapter 345. Auntie, where are you taking me? Since Yen Ran was already here, she calmed her heart and sat opposite Madame Qiao. You will know when we get there. I guarantee that you will have a pleasant and unforgettable night. The two male pets continued to pinch Madame Qiao's body, making Yen Ran's eyes stinging. She turned her head to look out of the window and saw that the carriage was traveling on a mountain road. Yen Ran, in the human world, how many servants do you have in your family? Her aunt ate grapes while feeding one to the male pet in front of her. Auntie, in the human world, Uncle Wu is our housekeeper. When Qiao Yun was young, there were several nannies, but now there are fewer and fewer servants. Madame Qiao heard this. How can that be? In the human world, you cannot lose the honor of being the crown prince of the demon world. Xiao Xiao is the devil lord's only son. In the demon world, he will have endless glory and wealth. Don't tell me that he will suffer in the human world? Auntie, the human world and the demon world are not the same. Xiao Xiao's identity is basically unknown. We are all very low-key. Moreover, he is going to the human world to gain experience. Uncle Wu has already arranged everything for him. At that time my heart ached. Why did you send Xiao to gain experience? Isn't this clearly making him suffer? Ever since he was young, you see how much fun I've had with him. The demon lord sees his precious princess as a knot in his heart. Ever since he was young, he and Xiao have been fighting over their mother. When he sent Xiao away, wasn't it because he wanted to monopolize his princess? Yen Ran heard this and broke out in cold sweat. It seems that Xiao Zhao's playboy temperament was completely nurtured by his aunt. As the saying goes, a loving mother will spoil the child. His aunt should be considered half a mother. Auntie, the human world is not the same as the demon world. In the human world, everyone has to work hard. Everyone has their own sense of mission and responsibility. I think that Xiao Xiao is very good now. In the human world, he will work hard to earn money to support his family. In the demon world, he also took on a heavy responsibility last night. He is quite outstanding now. Madame Qiao looked at Yen Ran for a long time. Then, are you having a hard time in the human world? Yen Ran choked. Yes, I have a lot of things to do too. Like I said, even if Xiao is having a hard time, I'll accept it. After all, he's a man. But as a woman, we can't let ourselves be unhappy. Look at how comfortable I am now. I don't have any responsibilities. I just have to enjoy myself every day. So, Yen Ran, learn to let Xiao do everything. Don't take on everything by yourself. Otherwise, you'll miss a lot of fun. Madame Qiao had just finished speaking when the carriage stopped. Madame Qiao, we have arrived. Yen Ran opened the curtain and saw 2 rows of handsome men in cool clothes, standing in line to welcome them. Yen Ran really wanted to close her eyes. These white and tender little fresh meat, swaying in front of her eyes, really made the sky a little uncomfortable. Let's go, I'll bring you to have a look. Madame Qiao pulled Yen Ran out of the carriage and then walked in front while Yen Ran could only obediently follow behind. Madame Chow looked like a regular customer here. Immediately, a manager came to welcome them and led them into an extremely elegant room. The room was filled with the fragrance of ink. The walls of the room were hung with all kinds of calligraphy and paintings. From the ceiling, there were brushes of different sizes. Yenran thought that she had entered a study, but there was no desk in the study. Instead, there was a soft couch in the middle. On the other side of the soft couch was a small stage, which was currently covered by a gauze curtain. Madame Chow called for Yenran to sit with her. Immediately, 5 or 6 servants came up to ask about the program arrangements. The program that they had booked was quite sumptuous. This was a private room with the name of books, so all the entertainment programs inside were related to books. Other than the 4 treasures of the study as props for singing and dancing, there were also paintings with names on the spot, as well as a special book acrobatic performance. Yenran calmed down. It seems that Madame Chow did not really bring her to a place of eroticism. Madame Chow really treated Yenran as an honored guest and introduced her to the habits and entertainment of the demon realm. Overall, Yenran heard that it was not much different from the human world. It seems that this place also worshipped people with knowledge and ability. However, there was a big difference, which was that they yearned for freedom and did not want to be restricted too much. As long as it was within the rules of the demon realm, such as not casually harming people's lives, not cheating others, not stealing money and so on, other aspects were very relaxed. Especially when it came to personality and freedom, it was completely encouraged. Therefore, Madame Chow winked at Yenran. "In a while, do you want to find a few male pets with me to spend the night with?" Yenran spat out a mouthful of water. Her face turned red. "Aunt, please spare me. Chow Shao will kill people. Shao and his father have the same temper. Their possessiveness is too strong. Previously, I had also seduced his baby to indulge with me. In the end, I did not expect that he would directly drive me out of the demon palace and let me live outside. He said that he was afraid that I would lead his baby astray." Madame Chow looked at Yenran with a very sympathetic gaze. "Yenran, do you know how much fun you have missed out on?" Yenran dryly laughed. "Aunt, we are monogamous in the human world. Don't challenge my bottom line. AI, boring." Madame Chow directly laid down and 2 male pets immediately helped her massage her shoulders. Just like that, they drank tea for a while and watched the performances. The most unique one was a stunt where the performer twisted off the end of the brush and had Madame Chow and Yenran mark one of the hairs. Following that, he scattered the hairs in the air into tens of thousands of hairs. After a series of somersaults in the air, he successfully caught the hairs that Madame Chow and Yenran had marked with his left and right hands. After this room ended, Madame Chow brought her to another room. The style of this room was completely different. Inside, there were many wine jars of different styles. Madame Chow said that this was a wine house, where you could taste the best wine in the demon realm and appreciate all the wine culture. It was still a room with a soft couch and a stage. This time, the tea that Madame Chow and Yenran drank was changed to wine. Under the influence of Madame Chow, Yenran gradually relaxed. Seeing Madame Chow's eyes full of temptation, she encouraged her to taste the best wine in the demon realm. Yenran felt the demon qi in Madame Chow's eyes, which seemed to be the same as Chow Zhao's. Unknowingly, she was bewitched by her and drank cup after cup of wine. The 2 women began to talk about the demon realm and the human world. They talked about the beauty of the demon realm and the cruelty of the human world. They talked about the men in the world and each other's sad matters. As they toasted each other, they talked loudly, as if they had already become good friends who regretted not meeting earlier. "Yenran, let me tell you. In the demon realm, there is one thing that is very important. Aside from freedom, there is also martial strength. Whoever has the strongest martial strength is the boss." Madame Chow drank a little too much. Her tongue was somewhat unstraight. Previously, when the demon lord sent Shao to the human world, was it because he felt that his martial strength was too weak? Yenran also drank a little too much, directly lying on Madame Chow's body. This should also be one of the reasons. Being led by me to only know how to play, in the future, how will he take over the demon lord's position? Madame Chow looked at Yenran and pinched her face. Niece-in-law, I really like you. Chow Chow really found a good wife. Yenran also hugged Madame Chow's neck. Aunt, you are the cutest aunt in the world. The two women laughed and played. Yenran completely forgot about the business she came to do. The two chatted until they were drunk and became happier. At this time, Chow Chow was still bitterly searching the various courtyards. He had just heard that the owner of the #1 villa under the heavens was accompanying a very important guest today. It was important to the point that no one knew his identity. They only knew that the owner of the #1 villa under the heavens, Hai Feng, bathed and burned incense for him. 10 days ago, he specially went to Eagle Beak Cliff to pay respects to the 6 realms. Chow Chow originally wanted to directly reveal his identity, wanting to meet with Hai Feng and ask him about the recent happenings in the Devil Realm. However, he didn't expect that in this place, money was the only thing that mattered. The little pearl on his clothes really couldn't move the eyes of any of the servants. Moreover, he was dressed up in a relatively ugly manner, but the elegance of his body was still there. All of the servants thought that he was a little boy who ran out from a brothel and wanted to seduce their boss Hai Feng. Chow Chow had no choice but to sullenly hide in a big tree in front of Hai Feng's house, waiting for him to finish talking with the important guest. As Chow Chow waited, he began to doze off. Just as he was about to nod off, he suddenly smelled a fragrant smell. It was long-lasting and deep, like a poppy. It hooked his heart. He took a deep breath, but it was this breath that caused him to fall from the book. Before he fainted, he only had one thought. It was 2F** King Tragic. He had actually failed at the place where he had played since he was young. Actually, this really could not be blamed on Chow Zhao's carelessness. He only came to inquire about information. After knowing Hai Feng for so long, he could walk out of the room with his eyes closed. He simply did not expect that someone would want to catch him. After a while, 2 people came out from the room and directly carried Chow Chow from under the tree into the room. Reporting to Master, this person has been sneaking around at the door for a long time. We might as well use knockout powder to knock him out. Master, please deal with him. Hai Feng, your security here is also not that good. Why did a thief follow me as soon as I arrived? A deep male voice sounded, like a crocodile waiting for an opportunity to move. Hai Feng immediately broke out in cold sweat. Mister, I'm really sorry. Just by looking at this person's makeup and attire, I can tell that he's one of our servants. I reckon that he's here to look for me for something and not for you. Boy. Zhang Liang squatted down and looked at Chow Chow, who had fainted on the ground. The boys here are really not ordinary. Hai Feng immediately replied, Then I'll have to trouble you to accept this young man tonight. Chapter 346. Hai Feng was worried that Zhang Liang would be dissatisfied with him, so he sent him a waiter to make up for his mistake. He didn't look at him carefully, only seeing that his clothes were basically the same as the waiter in his village. Although his clothes were a bit thicker, perhaps he was afraid of the cold, so he specially added an extra layer. Someone come, carry him to Mr. Zhang's residence and watch over him. Don't let him go out of the city again. I'm not interested in a waiter, Zhang Liang said indifferently. Then he said to Zhang Liang in a flattering tone, Mr. Zhang, our village has a set of strict training methods for the waiter. It will definitely satisfy you. In a while, I will send some drugs to liven things up. I guarantee that you will have a good time tonight. It's just that because of Imperial Uncle's rebellion last night, the entire market is a bit unstable. Do you think we should directly sell the goods we originally stored at a high price at this time? At least you have some brains. The time to make money from the country's crisis has come. This Imperial Uncle, with such a good opportunity, he actually failed to rebel. We don't need to care about who is in power. You just need to remember that money is always the way of the king. In Hai Feng's eyes, Zhang Liang was the richest person in the devil world. No one knew where his money came from, but everyone had a legend that Zhang Liang was the only person who could walk in the 6th generation. When Chow Chow was still in the devil world, he had also heard of Zhang Liang's name, but he had never seen the real person. After he went to the human world to gain experience, Zhang Liang's business grew exponentially, and he had already become the richest person in the devil world. He was the money bag of Imperial Uncle's rebellion this time. His personality was also quite warlike. The business world was like a battlefield, and it was precisely because of his wolf-like personality that he made a lot of money in the business world. Gradually, for some reason, his ambition began to grow. He wanted to be the devil world's Dark Knight Emperor. He didn't expect Imperial Uncle to hit it off with him. The two of them agreed that if the rebellion succeeded, Imperial Uncle would be the Devil King on the surface, and he would be the Emperor in the dark. However, he didn't expect that he would miss such a good opportunity. His rebellion actually didn't succeed. Last night, he went to the #1 manor in the world according to his plan. Originally, he was there to pick the fruits of victory, but now he was there to destroy the corpse and destroy the evidence. After a day of searching, he found that the Imperial Uncle had been locked up. No one knew where he was locked up, and the state preceptor had died in battle. His heart was very upset. Although only the Imperial Uncle and the state preceptor knew about him, a smart person would sooner or later think that it was impossible to fight a war without money. If they found out about him, then his many years of operation in the devil world would be ruined. The most important thing now was to seal Imperial Uncle's mouth and erase all traces of money transactions. The reason he came to the #1 manor under the heavens was to do business. He had long expected that as long as there was a war, supplies would be in short supply, and the goods he had originally stocked up would have a chance to be sold at a high price. And the world's #1 villa master, Hai Feng, was a very good business partner of his. He came here to inquire about information, but Hai Feng also didn't know where the Imperial Uncle was locked up. Hai Feng was a pure businessman, and didn't want to get involved in politics. Even if he vaguely felt something, he didn't want to say or ask. Zhang Liang and Hai Feng finished discussing the details of the goods, and he walked out of the courtyard alone, preparing to return to his residence. But at this time, the roars of two magical beasts attracted his attention. Madame Chao's signature magical beasts were known to the entire devil world. His heart lit up. He was worried that he wouldn't be able to find out the whereabouts of the Imperial Uncle. Wasn't Madame Chao an insider? It had to be said that Zhang Liang was a very courageous person, seeking riches and honor in danger, and he wouldn't give up until he reached his goal. He had his subordinates inquire about Madame Chao's residence, and then with a wave of his robe, he walked towards the wine room. At the door, there was still wine being poured in. Madame Chao was shouting to Yanran, "Today, I want to taste all the good wine in the devil world with you, and let you see if the wine here is better or the wine in the human world." Then he heard Yanran excitedly reply, "Then today, I want to have a competition with Auntie, to see who can drink better. The two of us are like old friends from the first time we met. This is the fate of transmigrating into another world." Zhang Liang walked to the door, and heard two women shouting loudly inside, and from the sound of it, he could tell that they had drunk too much. Zhang Liang smiled slightly, and stopped a servant who was about to bring in wine, and directly took the tray from him. Then he revealed a charming smile, pushed open the door, and walked in with large strides. Inside the door, it was just as he had imagined. The two women were drinking heartily without caring about their image. One of them was slightly older, wearing revealing clothes, and a bright red doo-doo was eye-catching, while the other was very young, with a celestial appearance. At this time, her face was flushed red, like a drunk fairy in a jade pool. He saw that on the small stage opposite the room, there were still people performing songs and dances adapted to the drinking culture, and the sound of the musical instruments could not cover the passion of the two women. Zhang Liang walked forward, sat at the table, poured a cup of wine, and handed it to Madame Chao. "Madame Chao, I have heard a lot about you. Can you do me the honor, Zhang Liang, a toast to you?" Madame Chao's words were interrupted. She originally thought that the person who came in was the servant who brought the wine, but she did not expect that when she took a closer look, it was actually a handsome middle-aged man. He had a sharp face, a high nose bridge, a slender figure, exquisite clothes, and most importantly, those deep black eyes were like a whirlpool that wanted to suck her into his embrace. Madame Chao's eyes lit up, and she reached out to touch his smooth white face. you are the new young man? Jean Liang grabbed the jade hand that was climbing up his face, and leaned forward slightly. Madame Chow, I am Jean Liang, do you still remember me? Madame Chow's mind was in a mess, and looking at Jean Liang's handsome face, she could not remember for a while. She had been with too many men. Could it be that he was also her old lover? She laughed and pointed her finger at Jean Liang. Wow, I remember now. You are little Liang? Jean Liang knew that Madame Chow had never seen him before, but he just followed her words and said, Yes, I am your little Liang, long time no see, how is Madame? He continued, Madame Chow, I still remember your charm, and I fell in love at first sight. At that time, I had just arrived in the devil world, and thought that I had seen a fairy descending to the mortal world. I stood by your carriage and looked at you in a daze, but I didn't expect you to directly pull me into the carriage and have a night with me. After that, you heartlessly threw me out of the carriage. After that, I could not forget you for a long time, and I still remember this pearl you gave me back then. Jean Liang took out a very ordinary luminous pearl, only the size of a fingernail, and emitted a white light on his fingertip. Jean Liang was gambling that this Madame Chow was full of love. He saw that Madame Chow was carefully recalling, and the moment he took out the luminous pearl, she seemed to finally believe it. She pulled Jean Liang over, opened her red lips slightly, and blew at Jean Liang, Let my body also remember. After saying that, her red lips pressed against his. Jean Liang immediately used all his skills, and fought with Madame Chow between their lips and tongues. After a long time, Madame Chow looked at him with misty eyes and said, I seem to remember. Jean Liang smiled ambiguously. It didn't matter if he could remember or not, the key was that his martial arts were good enough. Yanran, who was at the side, was confused, but she guessed that it should be Madame Chow's friend. Just like that, the wine for 2 people became wine for 3 people. Jean Liang originally had a wealth of experience, so he knew his own personal charm. Adding on his endless stream of jokes and stories, he made Madame Chow extremely happy. He later found out that the young woman was actually the Crown Prince's concubine. It was this woman who ruined their rebellion plan. He immediately thought of another plan. The Crown Prince's concubine losing her chastity was a big matter, but didn't he have a little girl in his room? The more the 3 of them drank, the more Madame Chow liked the man in front of her. The 2 of them got closer and closer, going from touching each other's hands to hugging each other's waist. In the end, Madame Chow sat in Jean Liang's embrace, and Yanran drank until she fell asleep on the table. Jean Liang also pretended to drink too much, and softly blew into Madame Chow's ear, How about we continue drinking in my room? Madame Chow looked at Jean Liang's charming eyes and saw that he had purposely opened the front of her clothes, and a small hand reached inside. Jean Liang laughed and picked up Madame Chow. He ordered his male pets, Madame Chow, will be staying here tonight. You guys can bring that madam with you. The male pets were not surprised by this kind of thing, and there were no safety concerns in the number 1 villa under the heavens. They supported Yanran and followed behind Madame Chow, directly arriving at Jean Liang's residence. Jean Liang looked at the servant that had already been placed on his bed. He ordered the servants to carry him to the next room and also sent Yanran in. The door was tightly locked, and he lit an aphrodisiac incense inside, ordering the servants to guard it. He would first think of a way to get information from Madame Chow's mouth, and then he would think of a way to catch them in the act the next morning. This really was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. He couldn't help but admire himself, even the heavens were helping him. After Yanran was brought into the room, she had already woken up on the way. She used her spirit energy to expel the alcohol from her body, and by the time she entered the room, she was already fine, but her head still hurt. It seemed like she really drank too much. The room was extremely fragrant, and an abnormal fragrance filled her nose. She was about to get up and extinguish the incense in the incense burner, but at this time, an arm stretched out from the bed and pulled her onto a man's body. Yanran's reaction was very fast, and her spirit energy was about to chop down, but when it reached the man's face, it stopped. Ah Xiao. At this time, Qiao Zhao's cheeks were abnormally red. The black paint on his face had been rubbed off by him, revealing his original face. Yenran was shocked. She touched his forehead with her hand and found that it was boiling hot. She patted Xiao Zhao's face and gently called out, Ah Xiao, what's wrong? Chapter 347. Xiao Xiao opened his blurred eyes. His eyes were misty, and his cheeks were red. After seeing that the beautiful woman in front of him was Yen Ran, he hugged her and said, Ah Ran, I'm so hot. Then his hot body moved towards Yenran's neck, and his two hands kept pulling his and Yenran's clothes. Yenran quickly grabbed Xiao Zhao's little hands and asked, What's wrong with you? Xiao Xiao was already unable to endure the thirst and said, Ah Ran, give me, I'm so hot. Yenran sensed that Xiao Xiao was not normal at this time, and the fragrance lingering at the tip of her nose was getting stronger and stronger. Without Xiao Zhao's urging, Yenran also became hot. Before being pushed down by Xiao Xiao, she consciously put a layer of enchantment in front of the bed, and then wholeheartedly devoted herself to the exercise with Xiao Xiao. Under the stimulation of the fragrance, the two became more and more excited, and it was like a flood flooding a mountain. After the incense burned out, it stopped, but the two of them had a whole night of intense exercise, and the discomfort in their bodies was completely eliminated. When they woke up in the morning, Xiao Xiao was like a cat that had eaten and drunk enough and was basking in the sun. He clung to Yenran's body, stroking the elastic skin in his hand, and sighed, Ah Ran, why were you so excited last night? You made your husband unable to cope. Yenran closed her eyes and was extremely tired. You still have the nerve to say that, you fell into someone's trap and almost lost your innocence. If I didn't save you, who knows how big of a scandal there would be. It was really a coincidence. There was definitely a problem with the incense last night. I was knocked out. This kind of dirty trick is really impossible to guard against. Ah Ran, how many times have you saved me in this life? The two of us are really fated. Yenran closed her eyes and turned over to hug Xiao Xiao. You've saved me so many times that I can't even count how many times you've saved me. It's really fate. Xiao Xiao gritted his teeth and said, These bastards dare to scheme against me? Wait until I wake up, then I'll seal the #1 manor in the world. The two of them muttered a few more words before falling asleep again. Something bad has happened. As soon as the sun rose, one of Zhang Feng's subordinates reported at the door. Madame Qiao and Zhang Liang, who had been fooling around the whole night, were woken up. Madame Qiao threw the pillow directly at the door. With a flip of her body, her leg knocked onto Zhang Liang's body. Zhang Liang was already awake. This servant was ordered by him. He pushed Madame Qiao. Madam, something seems to have happened. Madame Qiao opened her eyes and saw the man on her bed. She chuckled. Your skills are not bad. What happened? I'll sleep for a while more. Zhang Liang had no choice but to move his hands and feet up and down in order to wake Madame Qiao up. After a while, Madame Qiao was finally completely awake. What happened? The servant outside the door gathered his courage and said, Crown Princess and a male servant are in the room next door. Madame Qiao immediately sat up, the blanket on her body slid down. What did you say? She heard the servant say, Crown Princess and a male servant are in the room next door. Spent one night together. It was as if a bolt from the blue had struck Madame Qiao awake. She pulled a piece of clothing from the side of the bed and wrapped it around her body. She immediately rushed to the room next door in a hurry. Originally, she wanted to directly cover up this matter and kill all the people who knew about it. Perhaps that would be enough. But she did not expect that when she arrived next door, the door was already surrounded by the #1 manor's servants. What was worse was that Manor Head Hai Feng was currently rushing over from afar. The clothes on his body were hanging at a slanted angle. With a glance, it was clear that he had just climbed out of bed. His face was filled with panic, as if a great disaster was about to befall him. At this moment, the door of the room next door had already been pushed open. In front of the large carved bed, there was a curtain that was tightly sealed. The clothes on the ground were thrown everywhere and the room was filled with a musky smell. Madame Qiao's heart was about to jump out of her chest. She loudly shouted, All of you, get out of my way. Do you all have nothing to do? After saying that, she waved her hand and her servants immediately went forward to chase them away. Finally, the door was quiet. But with so many people's mouths, how could it be sealed? They all left about 10 meters away and started to discuss spiritedly, waiting for the final answer to be revealed. Madame Chow's heart was apprehensive. She really did not know how to explain this to her nephew. She walked into the large bed and secretly lifted the curtain by a corner. She saw the two people entangled together with the blanket covering their bodies and sleeping soundly. Madame Chow angrily pulled Yen Ran up from the bed. She saw that her entire body was red from head to toe. It could be seen just how intense the battle last night was. Her intestines turned green from regret in her heart. How could this kind of thing happen? She was just about to call for someone to execute the servant on the spot when she suddenly saw the servant turn over on the bed. He opened his eyes and looked at her and said, "Aunt, let us sleep for a while more. I will seal his manor in a bit." Madame Chow's hand suddenly stopped. She looked at the servant's face. If this was not her closest nephew, then who could it be? At this time, Yen Ran directly hugged her. "Aunt, last night it was our Xiao. Don't be nervous." At this time, Chow Xiao pulled Yen Ran down. "If you want a hug, you can only hug me. Why are you hugging Aunt?" After saying that, he turned over and hugged Yen Ran in his embrace and continued to close his eyes to sleep. Madame Chow's heart almost lost blood from the two people. Fortunately, she was alive again and nothing happened. Otherwise, she really did not know how to explain it. At this time, Yen Ran had already woken up. She looked at her aunt and asked, "Aunt, who was the first one to catch the adulterers?" Madame Chow thought for a while and pointed at her own nose. "It was me." Chow Xiao supported his head with one hand on the bed and looked at his aunt strangely. "Could it be that this play was designed by you?" Madame Chow felt that she could not explain herself even if she had a mouth. "Ah, no. I heard that the crown princess and a servant fooled around for an entire night, so I was the first one to run over. I wanted to destroy the corpse and erase the evidence." Chow Xiao made an N sound and Yen Ran made an N sound. Then, the two of them slowly got up. Madame Chow was like a child who had done something wrong. She followed behind the two of them and was so anxious that she did not know how to explain herself. After a while, she finally reacted. "It was that servant. That servant told me to catch the adulterers. She must be the one who designed this play." Chow Xiao directly rolled his eyes. "Aunt, don't you think that you've done too many romantic things, that your brain has been filled with water? How could a servant have this much ability?" Madame Chow gritted her teeth and said, "This kind of person dares to scheme against this old lady. I will definitely not let him have an easy time." And the instigator of this matter, Zhang Liang, had finally found out where his imperial uncle was locked up from Madame Chow's mouth. After Madame Chow left the room, he had already left in a hurry. Scheming against the crown princess was just a side matter. He did not care about the consequences and only knew that he had to finish what he wanted to do first. As for who would be the scapegoat in the end, that was not something he could care about. Indeed, the current Hai Feng was already kneeling in front of the room. He never thought that his carelessness last night would almost lead to a disaster. He directly threw himself at the door and cried to the heavens, "Your Highness the Crown Prince, it really wasn't my plan. I really did not think that you were Your Highness the Crown Prince. I thought that you were a little girl, so I gave her to Mr. Zhang Liang. But who would have thought that Mr. Zhang and Madame Chow would actually take a liking to each other? And the Crown Princess and Madame Chow actually drank too much. You see, isn't this all a coincidence?" Chow Xiao stepped on Hai Feng's back. "I think that your #1 villa under the heavens is about to become the #1 den of prostitution. You can just randomly matchmake any kind of person. Luckily, it was me yesterday. If it wasn't for me, who would you ask for the Crown Princess chastity? I think that your #1 villa under the heavens is really getting impatient." At this time he heard Yenron's voice. Xiao, bring Villa Master Hai in. I have something to ask him." Hai Feng hurriedly crawled up when he heard this. When he entered the room, he did not even dare to raise his head. He had almost harmed the crown princess yesterday. This was truly a crime worthy of 9 familial exterminations. Villa Master Hai, tell me about that Zhang Liang. What did he come here for? Hai Feng lay on the ground and rolled his eyes. How was he supposed to say this? Mr. Zhang is my business partner. Yesterday, he came here to discuss business. Discuss what business? How much you bought, how much you gained. Bring me the accounts of all your business dealings with him. Yanran had already seen that Villa Master Hai Feng did not have the guts to do this. It might be a coincidence, but there was definitely a mastermind behind this. And Zhang Liang's appearance last night was very unusual. Hai Feng's heart thumped. It seemed that this crown princess was really not easy to fool. He hoped that she would not see through the matter of them profiting from the country's calamity. Xiao Xiao directly kicked him. Why aren't you going? You still dare to not listen to the crown princess's orders? Yanran continued to speak to Madame Qiao, who was standing at the side. Aunt, please invite Zhang Liang over again. Madame Qiao's face turned red. I just heard that he already left. Xiao Xiao rubbed his chin and looked at his aunt. Aunt, what did this Zhang Liang do last night? Is he really the man you knew in the past? Madame Qiao immediately held her head. Xiao, I'm a bit dizzy. I want to go back and rest first. After saying this, she wanted to slip away. Yanran fiercely slapped the table. Aunt, come back. Madame Qiao trembled in fright. This crown princess's aura was truly too strong. May I ask, my dearest aunt, did he do anything unusual last night? Madame Qiao's voice also lowered. Yanran, what kind of unusual behavior are you talking about? Every aspect. There's nothing unusual. Aren't you too familiar with the matters between men and women? Look at the red marks on you and Xiao Er's body. I'm the same. Xiao Zhao's face also turned red from his aunt's fierce words. Aunt, I didn't ask you about this. He just casually chatted with me. He knows a lot and talked about a lot of his own experiences. Then, he asked me about the demon realm and the rebellion last night. Yanran narrowed her eyes. What did you tell him? Chapter 348. He asked so many questions. Yanran, how could I remember so clearly? Look at how fierce you are right now. You've scared Auntie to the point that her little heart is beating so fast. Madame Qiao patted her own chest and looked at Yanran somewhat reproachfully. Yanran could only retract her aura and explain to Madame Qiao. Aunt, we originally came out to investigate the strange situation. What happened to me and Xiao Xiao is already very strange. You must cooperate with us to recall. I suspect that what happened to me last night was planned by him. It can't be, I think he's quite good. Madame Qiao said, and her voice became lower. Xiao Xiao stared at her like this, so Madame Qiao could only raise her hands and surrender. She sat down on the chair. All right, I'll speak, I'll tell you everything. You can see if there's anything useful. Then Madame Qiao began to recall the specific questions that Zhang Liang asked last night, such as the devil monarch situation, the princess situation, the crown prince and crown princess situation, as well as the details of last night's rebellion. Xiao Xiao and Yanran's mouths became bigger and bigger the more they listened. Aunt, you told everyone about our family background. Madame Qiao was still unconvinced. Everyone in the devil realm knows about this. Which one of the people in the Devil Palace doesn't pay attention to and imitate the actions of the Devil Palace? It is understandable that they want to know about some secrets. To them, this is something that is far beyond their reach. After Madame Qiao finished speaking, she was still immensely pleased with herself. Xiao Xiao really wanted to pry open his aunt's brain and see what else was inside other than men. Aunt, why don't you have a bit of vigilance? Yesterday, Imperial Uncle just rebelled, so there will definitely be some leftovers. The demon world will not immediately be peaceful, so if this person has any intentions, then wouldn't we be in trouble? What intentions would he have? He is just a businessman. Madame Qiao said with a face full of confusion. My dear aunt, how could an ordinary businessman make the world's #1 banker so respectful? Think again, what else did he ask? Yenran immediately understood the situation. He also inquired about how Imperial Uncle was dealt with and asked me where he was locked up. Madame Chow suddenly recalled this detail. Yenran and Xiao Xiao looked at each other. There must be something wrong with this person. Ah Xiao, hurry back to the palace. Madame Chow watched as the two figures hurriedly left and shouted from behind. He also asked about the princess's condition. Xiao Xiao and Yenran's footsteps paused, and then they sped up. The two of them hurriedly returned to the demon palace. When they saw the demon monarch, they realized that they were still too late. The corpse of their imperial uncle was lying in the main hall. The two of them were shocked. Father, how did imperial uncle die? He left behind a letter, saying that he had wronged me and committed suicide to escape punishment. The demon lord sorrowfully said, although he rebelled, I never thought about killing him. That's not right, father. It wasn't suicide at all. It must have been a homicide. Xiao Xiao recounted everything that happened at the number 1 manor under the heavens in detail. It seems that Zhang Liang is the most suspicious. Let's capture him first. At the very least, scheming against the crown princess is already a capital offense, Xiao Xiao said through gritted teeth. At this moment, Uncle Wu came over. Demon monarch, your highness the crown prince, crown princess, may I ask if you have seen the crown prince? Yenran replied, we just came back from outside. Wasn't Xiao Yun in the palace the entire time? I originally thought that he was in the palace. He was there last night, but he disappeared this morning. I brought people to search the entire demon palace, but there was no trace of him. Xiao Xiao and Yenran looked at each other. Yenran released her spiritual sense and searched the entire demon palace. But after searching everywhere, even the bottom of the lake, she did not sense Xiao Yun's presence. Xiao Yun isn't in the palace. Yenran's heart sank. On the main road of the demon world, a carriage sped past, bringing with it the sound of the wind. It was like an arrow leaving the bow, but also like a cheetah sprinting. The middle-aged man in the carriage had a handsome face. At this moment, he was casually drinking the tea in his hand. Sitting opposite him was a black child, as if he had rolled out of a pile of mud. His face was covered in black mud, and his simple clothes were torn in several places. Little guy, you dirted my carriage with the mud all over your body. How are you going to compensate me? Zhang Liang looked at the little mud monkey opposite him. He had fished it up from under the carriage. It was obvious that it was a thief. You were the one who caught me. I didn't want to get on your carriage. I was just about to go out to play. You are kidnapping a child. I will sue you. Zhang Liang was so angry that he laughed. This little guy really knew how to distort the truth. When he got on the carriage, he saw him hiding under the carriage, sneakily trying to take a night pearl from his carriage. The situation had been urgent, so he had directly pulled him up. All right, go sue me. Before you sue me, aren't you afraid that I will kill you? Zhang Liang narrowed his eyes and drank a mouthful of tea. If you wanted to kill me, you would have already done so. Why would you spend so much effort to take me away? How much do you think I can sell for? Zhang Liang thought, do you really think I am a human trafficker? He had already made up his mind and was in a good mood. He started to talk nonsense with this child. That will depend on what kind of skills you have. What kind of skills can a child like me have? But why did you run to the demon palace for no reason? To see what the demon palace looks like. Can't a country bumpkin like me not see the world? Then we are the same. I also haven't seen the world. I am also a country bumpkin and have never seen what the demon palace looks like. This is my first time going to take a look, but I didn't think that I would meet a human trafficker like you. Zhang Liang was not angry that the little fellow kept calling him a human trafficker. Just now, he had found that he was quite good at stealing things at the palace gates. He seemed to be quite skilled at stealing things from a distance. Thus, for some unknown reason, he directly pulled him into the carriage. Talents should be kept by his side and nurtured properly. Since you say that I am a human trafficker, then it would be a pity if I didn't act as one. Who else is in your family? I don't have anyone in my family. If one person is full, the whole family won't be hungry. The little guy boasted shamelessly. He curled his lips, and the mud on his face fell down with a pu sound. Hee, that's good. I am also alone. How about you come with me and be my follower in the future? The little fellow complained in his heart. I, the little prince of the demon world, will be your follower. How big is your face? But he did not say that. Instead, his eyes were wide open. Will you provide food and shelter? Zhang Liang was attracted by Chow Yun's cute appearance. He chuckled, as long as you don't eat much, I can still raise you. Chow Yun's mouth twitched. Then I will eat to my heart's content. After saying that, he ignored him and lay down in the carriage. His dirty clothes were wrapped up in the brocade and jade quilt. The journey was long. Zhang Liang and Chow Yun were both drowsy from the shaking of the carriage. After a while, Zhang Liang was sleepy. He had been busy the whole night yesterday and fell asleep very quickly. At this time, Chow Yun's eyes, which were originally closed, quietly opened. In the carriage, they were like two resplendent pieces of glass. He looked around the carriage and then looked outside. There was no trace of the demon palace in the distance. He sighed. It seemed that his parents were going to be worried. It was such a coincidence. Chow Yun was designing the reconstruction plans of the demon palace. There were a few places he had not been to, so he went to these places early in the morning to inspect them. Chow Yun felt that the crown prince robes were too much of a hindrance, so he changed into his human world long robes and trousers early in the morning, which made it more convenient for him to work. He directly brought 2 servants and began to wander around the entire demon palace. He did not expect that there would be such a remote place in the demon palace. He had to climb over several hills and crawl through several caves. When he was not paying attention, he actually fell into a quagmire, making his whole body dirty. The 2 servants hurriedly went forward to support him, and with a pull, they also rolled in the quagmire. Thus, the 3 mud monkeys continued to explore the demon palace. They came to a place that seemed to have many mechanisms, which made Chow Yun find a place to challenge his intelligence. Chow Yun directly drove the 2 servants back and asked them to help him get a set of clothes. His whole body was dirty, and it was very uncomfortable. He sat on the ground and challenged one level after another. He did not expect that he would be so powerful. With the help of Kong Ming and Kong Xiaoming, he cleared all 81 levels. Just as he was about to enter the mysterious cave, he suddenly felt something strange behind him. It was a murderous aura. He immediately hid to the side. After a while, he discovered that a middle-aged man had walked in. Then, he realized that the fruits of his victory had been taken away by someone else. His royal uncle was killed in front of his eyes. Chow Yun covered his mouth and almost screamed. However, he knew that his combat ability was not as good as this person's. He could only secretly follow him. He followed him all the way to the entrance of the palace and watched as he was about to enter the carriage. Just like that, Chow Yun secretly hid under the carriage, but she didn't expect the man to be so vigilant. He was grabbing a luminous pearl under the carriage with one hand, and using the other hand to grab a rope from the side of the carriage. He met the eyes of the middle-aged man who was squatting down to look under the carriage. Then, he was tragically captured. Chow Yun said that he was a human trafficker. In fact, he was a murderer. He originally wanted to follow him to see where he was staying and then report to his parents. He did not expect that he would become a hostage. The most important thing now was not to reveal his identity as the little crown prince. He also had to find a chance to escape. A crescent moon hung in the sky of the demon world. It was like a hook that hooked Chow Yun and Zhang Liang together. One was the little crown prince of the demon world, and the other was the mastermind behind the rebellion. Under the moonlight, the carriage had already driven out of the center of the demon world. A layer of white fog quietly rose in the night and enveloped the carriage. There was no one around. Other than the sound of the carriage, there were only the howls of wild beasts in the distant mountains. The carriage split the fog and rushed out of everyone's sight. Chapter 349. The entire demon palace was in chaos. The demon lord, the crown prince, and the crown princess were all sitting in the main hall, listening to the detailed report of the two kneeling servants. His Highness the Crown Prince asked me to go back and get him a change of clothes. Then he sat there alone and began to crack the mechanisms. But when we returned, there was no trace of His Highness the Crown Prince. We found that all the mechanisms had been cracked and Imperial Uncle had died inside. Yenron's face was pale. She could already imagine that Zhang Liang had killed Imperial Uncle and kidnapped the Crown Prince. Qiao Xiao had also guessed the reason, but he hurriedly comforted Yenran. Things might not be that bad. Our son is very smart. Think about it. If he saw Qiao Yun when he killed Royal Uncle, wouldn't it be convenient for him to kill Qiao Yun as well? But we didn't see Qiao Yun's corpse at the scene. Then, our son might not have been taken away by him. Right now, I'm worried that he wasn't kidnapped. I'm worried that he would act on impulse. Seeing that Imperial Uncle was killed, he would take the risk alone to catch that bad guy. Yenran understood her son the best. She knew that he was like her. He liked to worry about everything. The demon lord said, "Put Zhang Liang on the wanted list in the entire demon world. Have him send the Crown Prince over." "Father, you can't. I think the Crown Prince will hide his identity very well. If we tell the whole world that the Crown Prince is missing, then Zhang Liang will definitely know that the hostage in his hands is the Crown Prince. Then, I think Yun will really be in danger. Then are we going to do nothing?" The demon lord said anxiously. "Yun is very smart. He will definitely leave a clue for us. I once had a contact mark with him. No one will know. We just need to think of a way to send people to find this mark. If there is a mark, then it means that Yun is not in danger." Yenran passed down her mark. Sure enough, she found a mark in a corner of the palace gate. "Aran, you guessed right. Yun must have single-handedly gone to catch the bad guys. Look at him leaving this mark. He's even a little proud of himself. There are even some strokes that weren't left in a hurry. This little guy is really too daring. Newborn calves are not afraid of tigers. Back then, when I was his age, it was already very hard for me." The demon lord watched as the two of them hurried out of the store. He withdrew his outstretched hand. His darling was still waiting for the Crown Prince consort to save her, but this would delay for a long time. Qiao Yun felt as though he was about to fall apart from the jolting. He could no longer maintain his usual dignified image. He was still unable to wash off the mud on his body. The mud had already dried and was beginning to form lumps that fell all over the carriage. Fortunately, the carriage was big enough. Zhang Liang looked at the little mud monkey opposite him. Fortunately, he was far enough away. "Little guy, what's your name?" "I'm Tai Dan, Zhang Liang burst into laughter. "Your name is really old-fashioned. Your parents are really talented." "I don't have parents. I grew up with my aunt." "Then show me the skill you used to grab the rope last time." "No." "Didn't you do well last time? Just perform once and we'll be eating soon." Qiao Yun looked at Zhang Liang's narrowed eyes and sighed inwardly. "I have to lower my head when I'm under someone else's roof." He could only raise his hand and grab at the air. The teacup in front of Zhang Liang flew into his hand. Qiao Yun's hand was covered in mud. He purposely turned the cup and saw that the cup was also covered in dust. Then Qiao Yun calmly put the cup back. Zhang Liang's hand that was about to drink water paused. Qiao Yun's speed surprised him. He had made a round trip without a sound. He did not detect anything. In Zhang Liang's eyes, he was a godly thief. The smile in Zhang Liang's eyes deepened. It seemed that he had really picked up a treasure. "Tai Dan, we'll be eating soon. As long as you work well for me, you'll definitely be full 3 meals a day." After a while, the carriage finally slowed down. Qiao Yun looked outside and saw that they had finally passed through the mountains and entered an area with people. However, this place was clearly still at the edge. After a long time, he could still see a house. Not far away, there was a large flag fluttering in the wind. On it was written wine. Zhang Liang brought Qiao Yun down the carriage and entered the winehouse. It was about 20 square meters in size. There were a few simple tables and a shopkeeper was napping on the table. Zhang Liang went forward and knocked on the table. The shopkeeper woke up and looked at the two of them. One had an imposing appearance and the other had ragged clothes. Their temperaments did not match. Zhang Liang said, "Shopkeeper, is there anything to eat? Give us something to eat." He slapped a bag of devil coins on the table. The shopkeeper's eyes immediately lit up and a smile appeared on his face. "Two guests, please sit. I'll be right up. Do you want to order wine?" "Yes, I like wine." After that, he brought Qiao Yun to a relatively clean seat. Qiao Yun looked at the dusty table and felt a chill in his heart. However, when he looked at himself, he was not even as clean as the table. He could only endure the dirt and sit down. The wine was served the fastest. Zhang Liang poured himself a cup and drank it. After drinking for a while, he felt bored and poured a cup for Qiao Yun. Qiao Yun directly refused. Zhang Liang narrowed his eyes and warned, "Don't you want to eat?" Qiao Yun could only drink the wine in the cup. It was so spicy that he teared up. Zhang Liang laughed happily. Kong Ming and Kong Xiaoming were worried to death. "Qiao Yun, you're still young. Don't drink. Otherwise, it will hurt your brain." Qiao Yun's face was taut and solemn. "You captured me. I don't think you just want to waste food. Do you want me to work for you? That's fine, but we have to set some rules. As your subordinate, I have to have human rights. You can't mistreat me. Don't force me to drink. I'm still a child." Zhang Liang looked at Qiao Yun's serious expression and couldn't help but laugh. "Do you think you have the right to negotiate with me? Why don't you kill me? What's the point of that? Why did you kidnap me and sell me here? How much can I sell these 2 ounces of meat for?" Zhang Liang felt that Qiao Yun was quite interesting and bold to actually talk about conditions with him. "If you are indeed valuable, then I will naturally treat you well. Don't talk so much nonsense first. Let's talk about it after you make some achievements." Then, Zhang Liang didn't say anything else. The shopkeeper brought the food over and placed it on the table. He started eating, but he didn't force Qiao Yun to drink anymore. Qiao Yun looked at Zhang Liang eating very happily, but when he looked at the dishes on the table that were as black as the bottom of a pot, he really couldn't swallow. Thinking about how his appetite had been nurtured by the jade food, now it was really suffering. Qiao Yun looked at his hand holding the chopsticks. It seemed too thin and white. He could only wipe the dust on his hand on the chair. Then, he picked up a piece of black stuff, closed his eyes, and put it into his mouth. After the two finished eating, Qiao Yun told Zhang Liang that he needed to go to the toilet. Zhang Liang looked at him. "Don't think about running. Otherwise, you'll die a terrible death. Just outside this door where I can see." Left with no choice, Qiao Yun walked to the window outside and began to pee at the corner of the wall. The urine splashed down just like that, splashing onto his shoes. He frowned in discomfort, then stretched out his foot and made a mark on the haystack in the corner. "Finished peeing?" Qiao Yun, who had just retracted his leg, paused for a moment. Then, he calmly pulled it back. After tidying up his clothes, he turned around and saw Zhang Liang standing beside him. He also took off his clothes and began to pee. Qiao Yun glanced at him and immediately retreated. He gave Zhang Liang some space and returned to the room to wait for him. Zhang Liang carefully checked the surroundings and didn't find anything strange. Then, he continued to lead Qiao Yun on the road. "Where are we going? Don't ask what you shouldn't ask. Just be obedient and do what you're told." After eating, Zhang Liang directly began to sleep in the carriage. Just like that, they stopped and walked until they finally reached a downtown area. The horse carriage brought them directly into a manor. Before they even entered, Qiao Yun saw 2 neat rows of servants lined up on both sides. The manor looked low-key and reserved from the entrance. The door was not very wide and could only allow their horse carriage to enter. The carriage directly drove in. Under the bowing of the servants, Jean Liang lifted the curtain. With a strong wave of his hand, the crowd filed in and the door closed again. The scenery in the courtyard was beautiful. The place was open, and the rockery and lake reflected in Qiao Yun's eyes. This place didn't look like a simple manor at all. It was simply the imperial garden of a demon palace. There were no walls on both sides, and there were endless trees that stretched directly to the distant mountains. It seemed that the manor's door was just a cover. The inside was a completely different world. In the distance, there were picturesque houses scattered all over the place. There were countless servants walking back and forth in the courtyard. The family should be well behaved. Everyone lowered their heads and did their work. Their footsteps were hurried, as if they were afraid of making the slightest mistake. As the carriage moved, the servants seemed to know that their master had returned. They all stopped in their tracks and after bowing, they continued to move forward in a hurry. The carriage drove slowly for 10 minutes from the time it entered the main gate. When the carriage came to a stop, a group of servants came to serve Jean Liang. They knelt under the carriage with a cushion on their backs. Jean Liang lifted his robe. Someone had already lifted the curtain for him. His feet steadily stepped on the person's back and he steadily walked down. Qiao Yun followed behind and was about to get off the carriage. However, the servants had already left with Jean Liang and completely ignored his existence. Qiao Yun climbed down the carriage by himself. He had no idea where he should go. Looking at Jean Liang's back as he walked further and further away, he could only quickly follow. However, he didn't expect that before he took 2 steps, he was stopped by a servant. He was just about to call out to Jean Liang when he heard a voice from afar. "Take him to clean up, third-class servant." You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.